That weekend that they had spent together, James Charles had posted on his Instagram story that he was cooking. There's something so predatory about that.
About cooking?
This is already, it makes you a friend for you to go behind your girlfriend's back and then swoop in and steal her boyfriend.
What makes everybody think that they're best friends? It sounds like there's a lot of narrative chasing here.
James comes back and was like, well, do you trust him, Evan? And Evan at that time was like, absolutely. Like,
this guy's downplaying the relationship he had with Evan. Evan trusted him knowing that he was talking to James Charles.
I really hate to admit it, but I did have a brief friendship with Evan Johnson that started and ended well before I ever learned about any of the violence that was going on behind the scenes.
Oh, wait a minute. I just realized this. All the information that this Zack Sellers guy was getting about James Charles was filtered through Evan Johnson, the manipulative, lying abuser.
I will be dropping Bye Sister merch because there's no more sister. You're going to fall off of this platform.
Oh, yeah. I am dropping merch, and I am milking the situation, so I'm going to milk it some more. Yeah, great defense. Let's get this started. Little something a little different. We covered this Kayla situation already. It was pretty messed up, man. Like, I covered it, both of her parts of her, like, coming forward about her story. It was really terrible. It was one of the most, genuine stories I've seen, which is something that people come forward with stuff like this. A lot of times it's not particularly genuine. She had a lot of evidence to back up that this guy was really bad. Obviously censoring my language a little bit. He was a horrific piece of dog shit, if I'm being real. And I've been seeing something float around for a while. There's this guy, Zach. He's been making a lot of videos. Interesting looking fella. Pretty much from this point to here, all about how James Charles is apparently talking to this abusive ex-boyfriend of hers because he wants to fuck the guy. There seems to be some screenshots we're going to go through first. He's posted so much. I'm not going to watch his videos because he has an interview right here. We're going to watch his interview with Be Better. Incredible. So first, I want to look through the screenshots that he posts on his Instagram. There's a lot of them. We're going to look through them in, I guess, the order that he posted. My editor found these. Shout out to August. All right. And then we'll take a look at this video. Like, I'm curious what we got going on here. So Evan Johnson is the name of this this piece of dog shit. I don't know if all these. Just to be clear, I'm sorry. I just looked at the screen. This says Zack Sellers copyright. That's the name of this guy. He quite literally cannot copyright this. I don't know why he's pretending that he can copyright this. Okay, whatever. Okay. Weird. Very strange. Very weird way to start. I didn't even notice this. But anyway, this is apparently a picture of his phone because he was talking to Evan Johnson. I think it's just showing that he knows the guy. I guess it could be photoshopped. I don't really know. I get everybody to feel sympathy for her and trying to ruin me. Like, oh, well, that was one of the things too, is that in the first video, like, I had background information that, like, somebody who knows the Evan Johnson, he said shit, from my understanding from credible sources, along the lines of, like, he would get drunk and be abusive, right? So, anyway, trying to ruin me, like, it's so immature. My mom is even on my side. Wait, why wouldn't she be? She's seen the way Kayla would talk to me and treat me. It just got toxic. But since she has such a huge fan base, it's really hard to get my truth out. James Charles told me to be quiet as long as I can, no matter what. Even though it makes me look guilty, I just can't compete with the other, all of her diehard fans. Incredible. Okay, so I guess that would be the first interaction of James Charles. Then we got this here. Again, copyright. It's copyrighted. What are you doing? These are fucking screenshots of pictures. What are you copywriting? Okay. If you want people to look at your story, why are you... I just don't... I don't know. I mean, it's just so strange. Because I understand putting your name on it, I guess, so that you know it came from you. But then that makes it kind of feel like the primary goal is to make a career off this. I don't know. It's giving me like vibes, though. Ask James, would it be weird if I put blush on next week before my photo shoot? I'm going to put a little foundation on my very light. Bet. This is, I guess, him talking to Evan. He just said it would be weird. It wouldn't be weird at all. Haha. Okay, great. Another copyrighted image, just continuation. But does he recommend a certain brand? He said painted is the best. Bahaha. I'm gonna have to try it. Ask him who sells it. It's his brand. Haha. Oh yeah, it is. Haha. Ask him who sells it. Where could I buy some? Probably Amazon. I need foundation and blush. Haha. Oh, on his page's website. I'll be back home tomorrow, brother. You want to hang out before I get to Miami? Okay. So obviously at this point, this Zack Sellers guy is apparently friends with Evan, if we trust this picture. Which means that I guess he doesn't know he's an abusive piece of shit at this point. Anyway, Yeah, okay. Then this is a plane ticket, the trip back of Evan leaving James Charles' house. I thought his name was James, but okay. I'll take your word for it. It's all on his Instagram, by the way. We got a little copyright here, guys. Don't worry. I'm gonna give this to y'all. More to come. He knows what he did. This is a conversation with James Charles. Is this gay drama? So far, it seems like it. So I'm guessing this is a response to this. I'm sorry I didn't see your messages previously. I wish I would have sooner, but I appreciate that you reached out. And then I don't know what else is said. Yeah, we can hop on a call later, man. So this is what James Charles said. This is what he said. Okay, I'll be available around 11 p.m. LA time. Are you on the East Coast? I'm in Nashville, so CST, but I will be up. Okay, I'd really appreciate if you could take down your videos until we have an opportunity to talk. Sorry again, it took me this long to see your message. Coachella is my busiest time of the year. I think that this is continued, so we're going to just kind of switch to here. I understand some things, James, but him flying there and staying after y'all had so many conversations with Kayla, he's covering his thing. I can't read all of the messages. This is incredibly amateur, but okay. It says not him trying to manipulate me. I only knew Evan. You knew both. Okay. But anyway, conversations about Kayla on Instagram from you, and also the night you told him to hurry and get home because you had a surprise for him. I was there and laying on the floor. There's a lot, James. Well, here's my thing though. I'm a little confused. Okay, let me just finish this. You had a surprise for him. I was there and laying on the floor. There's a lot, James. I'm a model. Okay. Incredible. Sorry, I don't know what the fuck's happening right now. I'm not a hater by no means. My own little sister and nieces watch you, but you know deep down right is right and wrong is wrong. Kayla has been so sweet, and it's just not right. There's not so much. There is just so much information, and it's a lot. You were also very close with him until you learned that he was lying and manipulating everyone. So you did the right thing to cut him off. And as soon as I saw Kayla's video, I was absolutely disgusted by his actions and realized he lied about everything to me. So I did the same exact thing you did, cut him off. I mean, it sounds reasonable. I don't know. It sounds like kind of reasonable if this is the timeline where they were all friendly in some capacity. Kayla seemed to keep it to herself that she was being abused. That's unfortunately what happens in situations where people are being abused. Like, they broke up. When James saw her video, he's like, oh shit, like, this is real. This isn't some kind of internet drama. And he cut Evan off too. If that's the case, I don't really see what the issue is. I'm just confused because only a few days ago you were reaching out trying to help, but now that I've responded to your message, you're more interested in exposing me. Okay. The whole plan was to speak out for something for Kayla, and then I can't really read the rest of it. Incredible. Here's this, getting things done. He's going to a court. I don't know. Is he getting married? I don't know what the fuck this is in reference to. I suggest everyone go and listen if you're behind. People are being botted left and right for talking about this. I was watching his live, and it was botted in real time. It's insane. Oh, wait. It's insanity? Everyone needs to see this. Kris Jenner works hard, but Sam Megan works hard. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay. Then that's it. So I'm going to come into this with these screenshots. This is absolute mess. Seems like this is a big nothing story here. But we're going to check out this. All right, yeah. So I'm hoping that there's more here because so far from watching the screenshots, it seems like it's a big nothing burger. And one of the issues that I do have is that, like, James Charles is not a particularly good person. Looking at his past, I don't think he's a predator personally, but I obviously think that he's like a weird, irresponsible loser. But the problem is that, like, this seems to ride off the fact that he is a loser, but they were all friends with him after all the controversies he had, but have now disconnected because of this new controversy. So, you know, the moral loading coming in of, like, James Charles is a really bad guy. He's a this, he's a that. These guys all know that context. So that doesn't really... They can't really rely on, like, his past, because from their perspective, his past is something that they were willing to forgive. Okay, let's see.
Okay, so I just want to start off by thanking you, Zach, for speaking with me and for coming all the way to Toronto to do this interview.
Fantastic.
I also want to start by reiterating some of the private conversations that you and I have had, which is in speaking on your firsthand experience in this entire situation, to remember that Kayla is at the heart of it.
Sure.
And to acknowledge the real gravity of what she went through, and to encourage every single person to watch her videos first and
Sure, I
foremost before
agree
they
with
watch
that.
this, because I just don't want anything that we're speaking about today to overshadow her story. And with all
Okay.
that being said,
That's
I just
nice.
want to allow you the opportunity to introduce yourself and your relationship.
Oh my God, is this the model, Zack Sellers? Is this the model, Zack Sellers? Incredible.
Evan.
Yes, so I'm Zack Sellers. I'm actually from Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow, me too.
Me and Evan
I don't know
grew
what
up
I'm saying.
in the same town, very small towns around the suburb. So it would be a suburb of Nashville.
What are you guys in the gym taking pictures in the gym bathroom, you weirdos?
We've always known of each other, but it's more of I knew of him, but never hung out with him.
Okay, up until I imagine, because they seem to be good friends before this whole controversy starts.
He come back from LA back in January. That's when him and Kayla had, taken a break, I believe, and that was more of a break. Once he came back to Tennessee, we immediately started actually hanging out because he reached
Okay.
out and was like, I want to get into modeling. Can you help me out with all of that?
Is this guy like a legit model? You know what? I might just not understand modeling. Well, maybe I just don't get modeling. Because he doesn't have he's Instagram followers is 2,500, it seems. These are his models that he's ing. I guess he looks nice. I don't get it. I really don't understand. This is just not my world. He has an agent, so maybe he is one. God bless. I just don't get it. I don't. I mean, maybe he makes a living on it. Maybe he doesn't, and he has rich parents. I don't know.
And he knew like I was in the modeling industry, so like he for sure wanted to like, me to like help him through it. So that's how
Sure.
it all become about.
Okay.
Right. So like throughout the duration of your friendship with him, did you notice any red flags with him in the way that he behaved or anything looking back?
Looking back, believe it
There's got to be. I'm sure that there are red flags, but people will unfortunately bypass red flags, especially since there is like a general perspective, which to an extent is kind of like older and conservative, and I like agree with it a little bit, where it's like, okay, such and such chose their partner. I'm going to kind of leave it to them to be the arbiter of their life. If you see something like uncomfortable with somebody, it's like, all right, well, that's none of my business kind of a deal. Some of it's probably, obviously, I would imagine does need to change. I mean, let's be real, but like in general, it's like, all right, you made that choice. Obviously, that's not usually under the understanding of, literal abuse, but
or not, I did not. There was times that it was always constant conversations of him saying, Zach, can you give me advice? Like, what do I do if Kayla goes public? Like, what do I need to do exactly?
well, with what? Public with what? And what?
That kind of raised the little red flags because that was a constant question 24/7, to me every single time we would hang out. And I asked him, I was like, what is the worst that happened?
I'm not understanding. What does this mean? I'm not understanding what he's saying.
I do if Kayla goes. There was times that it was always constant conversations of him saying, Zach, can you give me advice? Like, what do I do if Kayla goes public? Like, what do I need to do exactly?
Wait, you said that there were no signs of red flags, and now you're telling us that you guys would have a constant conversation about what he should do if she goes public? Did you ask him for what? I'm really confused.
Advice, like, what do I do if Kayla goes public?
I'm so confused. What?
Like, what do I need to do exactly? That kind of raised the little red flags because that was a constant question.
A little red flag? Something is not adding up right off the bat. Okay.
24/7, to me every single time we would hang out. And I asked him, I was like, what is the worst that happened between you guys so I can give you the correct advice? And the worst that he had, told me during that time was they were very verbal. Never, nothing was never physical. There was one time he
Okay.
said that for his protection, he had to hold her against the wall so she would not harm him. So at that
Okay.
time, when I say that, I was manipulated, I believed, Evan's side. I believed at one
All
point.
right. So there were pretty glaring red flags, but you gave him the benefit of the doubt that Kayla might actually be the abusive partner in some capacity. From what I've seen, I think that it's probably reactive abuse, but obviously I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He wouldn't have known that from the start. Like that would be unreasonable to be like, oh, how did you not know all of this from the start? So
I did not know Kayla. I believe that she was, you know, in the wrong. She was the evil person. Me looking back now,
gotcha.
I know the true side.
Well, it's interesting that he was worried about Kayla going public, because then the question is, what are you going public with? And if you didn't do anything wrong, why would you be worried about that?
Yes.
And then you mentioned also something about Reddit. He would tell you that not to check Reddit. Was that
Yes.
correct? Why did he say that?
So we would be in the car and he mentioned like, oh, I'm all over Reddit. So like that, I've never been like the type of person to get on Reddit. Like it was not even downloaded actually on my phone.
All right, guys. First green flag. He's not a Redditor, guys. First green flag.
Scary place.
Yes, it's scary after I got on there. But after he had dropped me off one night, I was like, something was telling me I need to get on Reddit and I'm curious just to look up Evan Johnson. I look up Evan Johnson. The first picture I saw was Evan holding, you know, a vape, and it was posted on his story.
I think at that first red flag, he's holding a vape. Loser.
And I believe the wording was something around, guys, did you guys know that Kayla was a whore? And that's the first thing that popped up on Reddit. And I was like, okay, so I don't know if that was joking, but you still don't joke that way. Like, especially with your girlfriend, that's someone you know you love. You're joking around that and you keep going, it's deeper and deeper. So I started like, okay. And I asked him about the, you know, scenarios, and he goes, there's just so many haters. Like, this is the reason why I did not want to be in the public eye. I did not want my relationship in the public eye.
Well, that obviously is not true, because that's obviously not true. The only reason I say that that's not true is because he literally wants to be like this big old content creator. So I don't believe that for a second. It's hard for anybody to believe, I would think.
And at that time, you know, I'm not always been in the public eye. I'm on the backside of the modeling industry. So I was like, okay, I understand that 100%.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
So at what point did you officially stop being friends with him? Was that like a specific moment in time?
The day that Kayla released part 1 of He Doesn't Love You, I watched it. I got to the end of it, and I cried by seeing that, seeing what she went through. It's heartbreaking.
That makes absolutely perfect sense. Well, right after she released the video, you see the proof and the screenshots, and you realize, like, yeah, like, he's a really bad person. That makes perfect sense. But, like, my thing is that, you know, that seemed to be, unless he can prove otherwise, that seemed to be when James Charles also stopped his, you know, we'll say, I don't know, advocacy, like stopped interacting with him as well. So wouldn't you extend that same bit of good graces there too? Or do we know?
After, I mean, it's just giving, it's cold chills right now. I mean, knowing that what it's in that video at the very end.
It's one of the most disturbing things I've ever watched, personally.
Yes.
And people have been saying all sorts of things. I think for the most part, she has a lot of support. But if you actually watch her videos, there's really no way to walk away from it feeling like she's lying or feeling like what happened wasn't extremely serious.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And that's where it's frustrating, because some people just don't do the research. Everyone needs to watch those videos.
Oh.
Well, I think a lot of people brush it off and go like, oh, there's obviously like toxicity on both sides, blah, 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 which there probably was. But again, it seems more like, from what the vibe I got was that like she's obviously young, so she's probably immature. And then she's like reacting to his abuse. So there's probably are levels of toxicity that she has, but nothing to the degree that he has. You know, everybody, I mean, I was toxic when I was younger, but I was never, you know, abusive. Toxic is insane.
And you obviously did the right thing by cutting him off after you learned all of that.
So I did text him, you know, the day that she released it, after I got done watching it, and I texted him, WTF, I did not know you went that far, ... He come back with a long message, you know, still manipulating.
It's a little interesting. Not that far implies that you kind of knew some of it. But I guess what he had said earlier was that there was some physical interaction. It just was reactionary.
Me, saying that she's over exaggerating, you know, there's a lot more to, you know, that message, but I just personally can't get into that message with legal matters. So I just want to, like, you know, elaborate kind of what the message was about.
Wait, why can't you get into the message for legal? What legal matter? That doesn't make any sense to me. What legal matter would there be if you leaked a screenshot of his message? That doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe I don't know something, but it doesn't seem like it would be illegal. There'd be a legal contention of him leaking their conversation that they had. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, why not just post it? Or I don't. Maybe not. Okay, it's weird.
But not get in word for word.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And can you
That
also
doesn't make
talk about,
sense.
there was a video that you had filmed of Evan where he was sort of responding to some of these allegations, and you still have that video on your Snapchat, correct?
That is correct.
Can you walk me through what happened before that, and then maybe just like summarize what he said in that
Yes.
video?
Wait, what?
You still have of Evan where he was sort of responding to some of these allegations, and you still have that video on your Snapchat, correct?
That is correct.
Can you walk me through what happened before that, and then
I'm so sorry. I need to know. Did he take the video in person? You talked to him.
maybe just like summarize what he said in that
Yes.
video?
Absolutely. So he picked me up from my house, and we were supposed to be going downtown to make some Snapchat content for his Snapchat because he was on a creator fund with Snapchat, and he had to post so many Snapchats, and he didn't really have anyone. So he's like, Zach, will you go downtown? Let's go hang out. Like, we'll go to this hotel. You can see Nashville and all of this. Like, I'm from Nashville, so I'm well aware of these areas. And I was like,
Okay.
for sure, for sure. So we get down there, and he just gets very emotional, starts talking about, him and Kayla's relationship. And when I say that I heard about their relationship every day, I heard about it every single day. And there was new stuff, slowly coming out. But
Was this before or after? Was this before or after the Kayla's video came out?
there was an influencer, a really big influencer, that was on the phone with him and was telling him that the best thing for him to do is to stay quiet, but go ahead and record some videos of him explaining his side of the story and the truth. And he says this is going to only help your case. So go ahead and get these recorded as soon as possible and have them. Well, I
Okay.
never sent these videos back to Evan because they were taken on my Snapchat and they were saved on my phone. He never once ever asked for them. I don't know if he was so dumb that he forgot about them. I honestly don't know.
Wow. And what was he saying in that?
It's weird. I don't understand the timeline. So either this was probably before Kayla's video came out, I guess, and you were still to an extent on Evan's side, and so was James Charles. I don't. Okay.
Video sort of justifying his behavior? Was it because I actually didn't watch the entire video? Maybe we can do that later because I actually meant to.
Yes,
before we
absolutely.
start.
So
It was like 10 minutes, right? And
yes.
he was sort of, correct me if I'm wrong, just saying that Kayla was exaggerating and
So he's pretty much beating around the bush without admitting, things that he had done. He, was always mentioning it takes two to tango. When I say that this man, like, I don't even want to call him a man because he's not a man, but that boy was literally speaking about it takes two to tango, takes two to tango. That right
Okay.
there, that saying, like, I've really not heard it much. And he said,
You haven't heard that saying before? What?
he spoke on that, saying so much. I was just thinking, like, wow. But like another big thing in those videos,
Sorry. Were you impressed by the new phrase that he used on you? Takes two to tango. Wow. Fuck. I've never heard that before. It's so deep. Holy fuck. This is blowing my fucking mind.
he continued to want to get his word out there that there is a big influencer that is currently telling him exactly what to do and giving him the best advice because this influencer has been through his own actions in the past or something close to these kind of things.
that garnered public scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
So then
Okay.
elaborating on that in the videos that you've posted.
Which does make sense because whether you do or don't like James Charles, the overwhelming majority of information that came out about him was fake. There were instances where like he was I think there was an instance where he was like 18 talking to a 14-year-old, and an instance where he was 20 or 21 talking to a 16-year-old, and his big thing was not verifying the age, and that's ridiculous. Like, you're obviously stupid. I don't think he's like a pedophile. He seems to be extraordinarily immature. He doesn't seem like a predator. He seems like a desperate piece of dog shit. Understandably so, but like the majority of them were fake. There was like, I guess that was one of the biggest things with like Death Noodles. So obviously we're fucking crossing streams here, where his issue was he overly verified every single one that came out, and so that is a factor there.
TikTok, you've obviously alluded to there being some kind of a connection between James Charles and Evan Johnson. So can you elaborate a little bit on maybe the first time that you ever saw Evan Johnson and James Charles interacting?
Yes, absolutely. So the first time was when he came to my house and picked me up. And when I say he came to my house to pick me up, that was usually, he was always the driver. I mean, I drive, but If he's gonna
Okay.
offer to drive, I'm gonna be like, okay, come pick me up. So I went to get into Evan's car at my house when he had come to pick me up because we were planning on to go downtown once again, to do some more content. And as soon as I opened the door, Evan was on FaceTime, and it just all got quiet. And I heard James's voice, and it just got quiet. And then they were in a conversation, while like I opened the door. So I get in the car, and shut the door. And James goes, "Oh, I'll let you guys go. Like if you're with friends, and definitely call me later so we can talk more about this." And then the next thing was Evan goes, "No, we can finish up a little bit. We don't really have nothing crazy planned. We're just going downtown to mess around, take some Snapchat stuff." And then James comes back and was like, "Well, do you trust him, Evan?" And Evan at that time was like, "Absolutely. Like, this is probably the only person I would trust, like, hearing and speaking about any of this right here currently."
Okay. The story's really weird because right now we're learning that he downplayed his relationship with this guy. They were like super close at a certain point. I don't understand why he's downplaying that. It's fine. Dude, I don't know. Based on what we know so far, this guy's downplaying the relationship he had with Evan. This guy was like super big friends with him to the point where Evan trusted him knowing that he was talking to James Charles and they could have a conversation about whatever private things they were discussing between the two of them in front of him. They were taking a bunch of Snapchat pictures together. This guy seems to be was like a really big friend of Evan's, which is fine. He didn't see the writing on the wall. That's fine. But so far, it seems like you were super close with this guy. So was James Charles. And then you guys saw Kayla's video and you're like, oop, that's too much. I don't understand why he's really trying to ride this hard for attention. That's what it comes off as.
At that time, I only knew Evan's side of the story. So
Same thing with James, though.
James Charles on FaceTime. Did you know who he was?
By the voice, yes. And then I just looked over
Hey,
and
sisters.
it was James.
Right. Kind of hard to mistake him for someone else.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there were other encounters. Was it like ongoing? And then also, were there any encounters where James was speaking specifically about Kayla?
Yes, there was. So that conversation that I actually, got in and interrupted, I now I have, caught on of why he was so like, do you trust him? Because they started picking up back on their conversation. And that's when James came back to Evan and was like, well, you didn't lose anything, Evan, out of this. If anything, you won. You got away from the psycho. She is the psychopath.
Right, but you believed that too. At this point in the story, you also believed that. Every criticism you're giving to James Charles, you have to give to yourself as well, based on what's going on here.
Like, you are not the problem. She's the problem. She's been known to be the problem. She has been known to lie. She has been also known to make up complete fake stories.
I mean, I don't know her. Maybe that is true. That doesn't discount the fact that she was legitimately abused by this guy. Not him on the screen, but Evan Johnson. That could be true, I guess. I don't know. I don't know I don't know their influencer, relationship. So
just to get clout and have views. That's the only way. That's the only, that's the way she is today is how she's gotten by making up stories. I didn't know Kayla, so I was like, oh, wow. Like, I know I'm just in the passenger seat just listening and stuff. And then he goes, Evan, like, I'm here, like, for you no matter what. Like, whatever you need, let me know, call me. He says, also, when you get home later tonight, FaceTime me. I want you to FaceTime me. And he says, if we need to sleep on the phone, we can. I'm here for you.
Wow, James Charles doing it again. Hardcore simping for a straight guy. He can never fucking learn. He's such a weirdo. Dude, James Charles, unironically, every single time I see his shit, is the biggest loser I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, he's unironically like the weirdest loser ever. All of his controversies boil down to that he is so desperate for anybody to talk to him that he will be incredibly ignorant and irresponsible in doing things like checking ages or, abusive tendencies. And it's incredible that a millionaire is this desperate and pathetic. Because I don't think he's like a legitimate predator. I don't. I just think he's like really pathetic. I think he's just like a pathetically desperate person. It's embarrassing. How like it's you're a whole ass content creator. You've gone through constant like issues and you still haven't learned. It's fucking pathetic. What is wrong with you? Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Oh.
So were there other instances? Was it an ongoing thing where they were kind of constantly in communication?
They were in communication every single day. When I
Okay.
speak on that I was with Evan every single day, I was with Evan majority of every single day. The only time I was not with Evan was when he went to Miami.
Dude, again, this guy was downplaying it. He was like best friends with this guy. Evan was on the phone with James Charles every day. By the way, I was also hanging out with Evan every day. What? When you guys are like best friends? What the fuck is happening? He's like, yeah, I don't know. You guys are best friends. What the fuck?
And then when he went to California, the times that I was with him, James would use Instagram as his Snapchat. And I
Okay.
didn't know, like, was not aware, like, why does James not have Snapchat? Like, why is he using Instagram photos, sending back and forth?
I can tell you why he doesn't have Snapchat, because he was caught texting 16-year-old boys on Snapchat.
So there was, just to be clear, there was one, and I believe he was 20 or 21. Still inappropriate, irresponsible. I'm not gonna. I don't think based on everything I've seen, it's predatory. Still, like very irresponsible and stupid. But I think that the context is appropriate. So
That's what he was canceled for.
Wow.
So I assume he.
Garrett, this guy knows this. Just to be clear, I'm not going to pretend that this guy had no idea that this happened to James Charles. We're not gonna pretend like, oh, whoa, really? I had no idea. Yes, you did. You had every idea. Get the fuck out of here. I'm just not gonna believe that. Wow, does that really happen? Whoa, really? Yeah, I think you knew that. What?
Deleted his Snapchat and now he's using Instagram.
Yes. So the second encounter,
Wow.
I was wondering because there's more to Evan just saying, like, James has asked me to come, stay with him, to come visit him, just to get away because he knows I'm going through depression. Well, there was, some pictures going back and forth, and it was just James, like, just got home, shirtless, and, just laying on his bed, and then he'll just be, like, in his room doing, like, something, angle like this and stuff like that.
Okay.
Just trying to, I guess, look pretty for Evan.
Okay.
So Evan was engaging back with, pictures, and, like, Evan would just sit here and, like, pull his phone up and be like, stick out his tongue and stuff like that. Just kind of, trying to, I guess, engage into like what James is like, I guess, trying to get to.
Right.
There was another time that we were in the car, and when I say we were in the car, that's obviously we went to get in the car, go eat, go find something to do, go take some content for him and be done. And every single time, like,
I love
that was his go-to.
Yeah, we're just taking some content together, then we'd be done. Dude, you were hanging out as your best fucking friend. What are you talking about? Stop downplaying it. It's weird.
Person. You got to think that Evan had me, but I'm not a celebrity. The only person he had after losing Kayla that he felt that he would be able to stay in the industry was James Charles. So he had to keep James Charles as close to him as possible. If not, then where would he end up? Nowhere,
Right, this is like almost a defense run. It's like, yeah, he had to talk to James Charles because James Charles was such a big celebrity. If he was basically manipulated into having to hang out with a celebrity to keep his career going. It sounds like you're running defense for your friend here. It's actually kind of a weird, but okay.
No, like there would be nothing out of that. But back to the next car time.
So, okay.
There was a message back that James had sent to Evan and says, I have a big surprise for you when you get home. This is after we had left Nashville on the way back to Hendersonville, a local town that we actually are from and live in. So we get back, and little did James know that I actually went home with Evan. And
what are you all fucking gay? What's happening here?
When we get to Evan's house,
little did James know, I was constantly. I was literally his Evan's best friend. By the way, we were not very close.
Sitting in his room, Evan message him. They were messaging the whole time, anyways. And he lets James know, like, hey, I'm like 5 minutes away from home. Okay, so letting James know, get ready and stuff. I don't know what, I was like confused by the surprise. Well, we get to in Evan's room, and then he notices like Evan takes a picture of himself and is like obviously him in his room. And the next picture was James bent over on his bed with his ass up in the air and was showing his ass and didn't say anything in the first picture. Then messaged is like, how do you like that, daddy?
Okay. Great. What does this matter? they were flirting and sexting. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm smiling because I'm uncomfortable. And I want to also reiterate James is 26 years old and Evan is 20 at this point.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? He's a legal adult. Well, I want to reiterate that they're both legal adults. Okay, great. Thanks. Appreciate that. Okay. Thanks for the clarification. I didn't know how to put those two things together. I don't know how old he is based on whatever they're talking about, but okay.
Yes, I'm 20. That's correct.
No, that's not an illegal age difference, but there's just something so disturbing to me about this being a pattern.
A pattern of what?
But I'll let you continue. So
what's the I'm so confused. What's the pattern? That he's not talking to a child? What's the pattern? What is the pattern? What are you talking about?
So
what's the pattern? What am I missing? What?
During that time, I am aware that Evan had previously sent some save photos of, his private parts.
Okay.
And I just want to let you guys know that the next picture was like a picture, but it said video, but there was no talking in it. And it just had a caption on it. And James was bent over completely naked on the bed and said, "Daddy, I want your big."
Okay, cool. Why does any of this matter? Why does any of this matter?
So I was like, Evan, like, what are you?
If anything, this video shows to me and confirms to me that James Charles is not a predator, that he is just a fucking loser. He's talking to a 20-year-old. He's talking to a legal adult. He's obviously just like a fucking loser.
What are you doing? Because I don't know if you're leading him on or what, but I don't know what you're doing at this time because it can always backfire on you. So
maybe he is leading him on, or maybe he's horny for fucking James's cock. I don't know. I don't really care. They're adults. I don't give a shit.
Don't do that. If that's the case. Okay. And he said that wasn't the case, that James come to him.
I guess I'm also wondering.
I'm sure that he would. I'm sure he would come to him.
What your role in this was? Evan sharing the snaps with you? Were you looking over his shoulder? How did you see it? Was he kind of showing?
It sounds like he was pretty chill with it.
You even thought it was funny?
So at the beginning, he was showing me the snaps and thought I guess it was funny.
Funny, oh, look, I'm snapping James Charles.
And I'm getting, pictures.
Yeah.
But as time went by, it seemed like the friendship/relationship got very private.
Right.
Oh, really? You mean the fucking literal fucking cock pictures? Who would have thought that's private?
After it got very private, James had changed the mode on Instagram to vanish mode.
He's been known to do that.
So,
well, I mean, why wouldn't he do that? He's been known to do that. Yeah, James was sexting with a 20-year-old boy, fucking man. Just to be clear, James was sexting with a 20-year-old man. He started making it so that his messages were private. He's been known to do that. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What the fuck? This is crazy.
So everything that was getting sent, it would get sent and be completely gone. A message would be going.
Whoa, is that how vanish mode works? Is that how that works? That it would go away at a certain point? That's fucking preposterous. I never would have expected that. That's crazy, man.
So I was like, oh, okay. So there's a lot more. There was one time that Evan was driving and he's like, Zach, can you text James back? And the message I had to send back to James was, I can't wait to see you.
Oh.
That was, word for word that, Evan had me speak and send that because he was driving and I'm in the passenger seat. I'm not wanting to die in a car wreck. So I was like, okay, yes, I will do that for you. And
I like how he's like, yeah, I didn't really want to do it, but I didn't want to get in a car wreck. So I was, dude, you're his best friend. Stop pretending that you were not friends. This is insane. This is ridiculous.
In your interactions with Evan, were you guys often drinking? together? Was that sort of the nature of your friendship, where you were going out partying?
So it actually started off with us like neither one drinking. I'm not a big drinker like whatsoever. So it started that he was depressed. And I will speak on the first week, you know, with the Kayla and him like splitting ways. He was very, very depressed.
I imagine because he was getting ready to get exposed for being abusive. Wait, hold on. Did he say
With the Kayla and him like splitting ways, he was very, very depressed. There was an incident the day that, or the
Wait, hold on a second.
So it started that he was depressed. And I will speak on the first week, you know, with the Kayla and him like splitting ways. He was very, very depressed.
Okay, I just want to be absolutely clear. You after they split, you were still friends with him for a week. Okay.
There was an incident the day that, or the night that Kayla had officially, you know, let things go and came to senses. And I'm so glad she came to the senses to like
Same.
get away from this psycho, you know, that psychopath. But he attempted to commit suicide.
All right. Jesus. I only did one thing, right? Well, I guess he didn't because, you know, I don't know.
I was very scared. No matter what, I'm the type
No, I'm just kidding. That's bad. That's I can't co-opt that. That's not good.
of person. I don't want to see anyone do that. No matter what the actions they're going through, no matter what they have done.
I don't know, man. If they're like a really bad person, I'm not super concerned with that, if I'm being fucking real with you.
And I don't want, and I'm not going to condone like, oh yeah, go do that, or I'm not going to support you. At that time, I had to support him. And he called me and he was at his house and said that I just took a bunch of Xanaxes.
Whoa,
And I was
Xannies.
like, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, why?
What? That's
So I had his
crazy.
location. I immediately rushed to his house. Well, he wasn't inside of his house. He was literally down the road in his car. And I mean, it was
Those fuckers
early
are-
in the morning. Like, it was later in the morning, like not 8 o'clock. I would say like maybe around 5 or if 4:45, 5. And he was in his car and he was already passing out. I immediately went to his pulse.
Okay, so just to be clear, because I see people in the chat. It's obviously very contentious, so I'm just going to reiterate one time, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Okay, there were, from my understanding, there are 2 instances of James Charles. We'll talk about this one last time, because I see people saying it in the chat. We're just going to talk about one last time. 1, when he was 18, he apparently talked to a 14-year-old. 2, when he was 20 or 21, he talked to a 16-year-old. Both instances, my understanding, he didn't verify the age. And he was chatting with them, and he was flirting with them, and it was inappropriate. There are a slew of false allegations that came out against him. We know that we know this for a fact. The majority of them were false. It's the biggest reason why Def Noodles took a big hit is because he was verifying and validating every single one of the allegations, despite the fact that there was not proof for the overwhelming majority of them. So we know those 2. Those are the only 2 that we know. Okay, inappropriate, yes. Predatory, not enough information to sell it on predatory. Predatory would mean that he would have to knowingly and he would have to knowingly try to be engaging with people of an inappropriate age range. I don't necessarily think that he was. It seemed more like he was a pathetic loser looking for somebody that actually liked him. There were multiple other things that came out of guys that were like his age, it's usually straight guys. He usually goes for like straight guys because he's a fucking weirdo. Where he's trying to hit on them and he's giving them free tickets to a show or whatever, and he's trying to hang out with them, blah, 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 and they're not necessarily interested. There was like one bisexual guy that was like his age. It doesn't seem like there's a specific pattern of him trying to go after children, right? That's predatory. Inappropriate actions aren't necessarily predatory. Intentions do matter. That's what I see. You can think he's a predator if you want. There's not enough information to actually confirm if he is a legitimate predator or not. That's just like a fact. That's where we are right now. I know that the narrative, you know, that it's fine what you guys believe. I'm not going to shit on you for it. But from what I've seen, I need to see much more than what we've seen so far. And this is not another instance of him being a predator. He's talking to a fucking legal adult and he's chatting with them. If he was specifically trying to talk to children, I imagine he wouldn't be trying to chat with some fucking broccoli head, 20-year-old fucking person. So I just want to be very clear, right? That's it. But that's all I want to say. This way we are on the same page. This way you know where I'm at, so you don't think I'm like trying to sweep for him. This is just like I can only take in the information that I see. I can't just run with a narrative. Just because it's like popular doesn't mean you're wrong. Maybe I'm misinformed, but I've seen a lot of this information, and I can't I just can't co-opt it. I'm sorry.
He had a pulse, but was like not waking up for me, like whatsoever, like
No,
not waking
Evan.
up at all.
Evan,
You know
no.
what prompted that?
Evan, you're too hot. You can't be on Xanax, dude.
The breakup. And when I say also, I just don't want to say the breakup. Deep down, me knowing what the world knows about what Kayla has come forward about, now I do see why, you know, that he went that route, because he kept asking Kayla, like, do you plan on going online? Why, like, can we keep this private? Like, this is going to ruin me.
So his primary concern was her going public, not her mental health.
Yes.
Well, yeah, no kidding. Obviously, he's an abusive piece of shit. He doesn't care about her. That's
He was not worried about Kayla's mental health. He was not worried about Kayla at all. He was worried about his reputation and if it was going to hurt him or if he was going to
Yes.
get in trouble.
Because he had really just started building a following, which was exclusively due to the fact that he was dating Kayla Malec.
Yes.
Okay, so you were saying there was an episode where he attempted to unalive himself. And how did that end?
It ended with I was rushing to, you know, his location because it said that it was like his house, but it wasn't the exact address.
Okay.
So it makes sense like why it was a couple doors down. I don't know if he was planning on going somewhere and the medication had already kicked in. So once I got to him, I already had brought Gatorade. Finally got him awake.
Gatorade, he OD'd on Xanax, you're saying, and you brought him Gatorade? I very highly doubt that it's real that he actually was taking like a bunch of shit.
You know, keeping up with his pulse. At one point when I first got there,
If he actually OD'd, why wouldn't you take him to the hospital? This doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think any of this is true. What? I'm not saying that he's necessarily lying, but I feel like the other guy was just baiting for attention.
Attempt to start CPR, but
Whoa.
it was only because for 10 seconds there was no pulse.
Whoa.
So this is actually, I just got chills because this is the second time I've heard this story, because in Kayla's stories, in Kayla's YouTube videos, she had said that this similar thing had happened where he drank so much alcohol, he lost consciousness, and she had thought that he died and she had to resuscitate him. Very interesting that this happened.
Yeah, it was very scary. It was very traumatic for me.
Call the police, ambulance.
After I got him up, that's the first thing he woke up and he was like, Zach, like he knew who I was after waking up. I just don't know if I was supposed to start the CPR because obviously like he wasn't like completely out of it.
Why wouldn't you call if you saw that he was apparently trying to take his own life? Wouldn't you call on the way? I don't know. Okay.
But once he woke up, he was, you know, delusional a little bit, but he knew who I was. And I planned on to call 911, but he started yelling, do not call, do not go to my parents' house. Like, I'm fine. I said, well, first thing is I will drive you back home and you can go in and go to sleep. Like, but I actually sat there for like 45 minutes with him to talk to make sure that he was getting better before I just drop him off at his house and he goes in and something happens to him. So I tried, you know, and he was awake. He was just very drowsy. So I don't know if it just all kicked in and just at one point just kind of like hit him hard. But I refused to let him take his car back. He's like, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. He was very demanding that he was fine, that he can handle all of this. And I'm like, for one, like, you just attempted to commit, you know. Yes, I look back and I should have, you know, called, you know, the EMS and 911.
I don't really care. I really don't care about I think that none of that matters, but okay.
But that was, you know, the beginning of our friendship, and it was
the beginning. You guys were best friends at this point. What do you mean it was the beginning of your friendship? He keeps downplaying it.
It was just there was just so much going on during all the time. So I was just.
Do you think it could be because he was on probation that he didn't want you to call 911?
Knowing now, it absolutely was, because I was told by Evan that he got in some trouble a while back, and I have known about it because the like small town. But he told me he got in trouble and that he only had like, I think it was like believe it was like a month left for probation, because I'm the one that actually helped him write his essay for his probation officer. So I believed, I was like, oh, he's pretty much done. Well,
what?
Let's just say that he lied to me. He just got put on probation, and I believe he only has served like 7 months.
Bro, you were this guy's best friend. You helped him write his probation letter. I mean, that's fine. Why just say that? Like, yeah, we were best friends at one point. I never would have expected this. I mean, you know, in his defense, him lying about like how close he was to Evan is probably out of like fear that people will think that he's a bad person because he didn't see the warning signs, and so that's fine. But it is still like a strange bout of dishonesty to sit here and be like, yeah, we were kind of friends. You were his best fucking friend. You helped him write his fucking probation letter. Just be honest about it, man. It's not like a big deal. It's really not.
To this day, of probation, and he signed a 4-year probation
He is
deal.
clearly a pathological liar based on everybody I've spoken to. So, I mean, that sounds very traumatizing, just even for you personally, to see your friend, you may think that they passed away and have to resuscitate them.
It was
Did it
terrifying.
affect you?
It was very terrifying.
Did it affect
I
you?
am CPR certified. I have been a lifeguard, in my younger years,
very
like for
nice.
years, and like I actually can teach, like upcoming lifeguards get their certifications in the United States and stuff like that through the YMCA. So
Cool.
it was very traumatic, but obviously there's so much, things going around the world now that so much, things are fake. Like drugs are fake. Majority of stuff has got fentanyl in.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about? Drugs are fake. He's talking about fentanyl being laced, or drugs being laced with fentanyl.
Luckily, I believe that he got a hold of something that was either weak of what, the benzo had in it, or didn't only have a certain amount and it didn't have any fentanyl. Because if it would have had fentanyl, I would have not gotten him woken up.
Right.
Okay.
So let's go back a little bit to James Charles' involvement. Would it be fair to say that you felt like the nature of their relationship was definitely sexual?
It was
No kidding, huh? Okay. Incredible.
100% sexual.
No kidding. Yeah. Okay.
And what kind of things did you witness?
So based off of, all of the messages of the messaging 24/7, the pictures that I, previously did not want to see, but I saw, and the video.
I almost guarantee you that he showed him on purpose. He's like, yo, look at this. It's James's stick. And the guy was like, oh, fuck, I want to see. Which is revenge porn, kind of. It's inappropriate, but also I would have also been like, let me see that shit too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be, I'm just like, what the hell? You know? Just out of curiosity. I hate to say it.
Video of him, in the back, and then with the saying, obviously that, getting that done. And then
Okay.
I knew it turned sexual because Evan was engaging back, but I felt like Evan just was like playing a game, but James was very, very serious.
Okay, so then who's more at fault by that logic then?
James started the friendship as, I'm here for you. I've been through the same kind of things.
Okay.
Like, I want to give you advice. Listen to me. So
What's your
I
point?
had went on my TikTok because when I say that I stand for Kayla 100%.
Wow, doing the expected. So brave.
And I have her back.
Bro, like, it's so uncomfortable watching this because it's very clear to me that this entire situation is being sensationalized to like ride off of her trauma. Like, I don't see any problem in people talking about it or supporting it or anything like that. I think it's totally fine. But you're sitting here sensationalizing a story where it's like, oh, James Charles was like this horrible bad guy because he still was friends with Evan Johnson after they broke up. Up until she came out with her video, they were still friends until she came out with her video, and then he changed his mind. And by the way, I did the same thing. It's like, okay, so what's your criticism? What is your real criticism here? I don't understand.
Rest of my life, she does not deserve what she went through. No
Wow, incredible.
female deserves what she went through.
But maybe, guys, I don't know what no female
or anyone
there
in general
Beautiful.
Deserves what Kayla had went through. It's traumatic. This is something that's going to take years for her, if she ever can completely recover, which more likely you can't completely recover on these kind of things.
Okay, yes, of course, absolutely true, very true, bro, very true.
So I was nervous because obviously James Charles has such a huge platform. I was very nervous, but I was like, I have to do this for Kayla. Like,
do what? What do you have to do? Expose James? What do you have to? I don't understand. What do you need to do?
What I am doing, this is for Kayla and standing out because.
No, it's not. This is for you 100%. Knock it off. Don't pretend that this is for Kayla. This is for you, dude. This is definitely for him.
He the biggest social media influencer in the world who's not a traditional celebrity.
Absolutely.
I think that's accurate, like 100 million followers.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you feel comfortable if I read some of the messages between you?
Absolutely.
Of what messages? Him and James Charles. Didn't we already see them?
But so just a literal of how the messages came about. I posted my first video on TikTok, and not even 5 minutes of my video being posted of me calling James out that him and Evan, were together in California and that he flew him out. 5 minutes later, James Charles was at Coachella on that Sunday, the first weekend, and he was texting me at Coachella.
Okay.
And I give you permission to go ahead.
Within 5 minutes of you posting that video,
5 minutes.
he reached out to you.
I didn't even have 500 likes.
Okay, so I imagine somebody said something about him, and one of his fans was like, "Hey, did you see this or something?" Okay.
On that video.
That's insane to me.
Why? It's like not really insane at all. What are you talking about? Why is that insane to you? What?
It's like
It kind of creeped me out.
he must have someone looking out for these types of videos.
It creeped you out that you made a video about James Charles and he saw it very quickly? I don't... Why was it creep you out? Everything is so sensationalized. This is wild.
To see it can squash them as early as possible because this is reputation management. If there's people who do
Wow, who would have thought? Crazy.
this as for careers, I wouldn't be surprised that there's a team just constantly searching for anything and then they flagged for video.
Maybe.
That's very true.
So
true.
there were some initial
But
messages.
you just said it was creepy, so that narrative like completely debunks that, no?
Which we can put on the screen. James said, "Hello, I'm just now seeing these.
Oh, we already
I'm
read
absolutely
saw
not on
these.
his side and would really, really appreciate it if you would leave me out of this. I only ever spoke to him because he manipulated me into thinking his situation was similar to what I went through."
That might be true. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Sure.
That's very interesting to me
Why?
because James Charles is 26 years old. He's a multimillionaire. He's very successful. I think
Okay.
in a lot of ways, in the way he conducts himself, he's not smart,
That I 1000% agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
but he's not a dumb person. The idea that James Charles was manipulated by a 20-year-old boy who can barely string a sentence together in the videos that I've watched.
It makes perfect sense to me. James Charles is a fucking loser who's desperate for attention. This makes 100% perfect sense to me. I guarantee this is what he did. He saw a guy that was like, he thought was cute, and he's like, "Oh man, he's interested in me." That's it. That's all it is. It's all it is. It's the same thing if it was like a 50-year-old man fucking jerking off to a fucking 18-year-old webcam model. They're fucking losers. That's James Charles. That's literally all it is.
Hard for me to believe.
Yes.
Not
When
for
he
me.
says he manipulated me into thinking his situation was similar to what I went through, if I'm putting myself in James's mind to understand what he's suggesting, is I think in James's mind, he was canceled for something that wasn't true. When he was canceled.
He was canceled. Well, he was. He's not a predator. I very highly doubt that he's an actual predator. So, like, yes, and that by the logic that he would be canceled for something that he didn't do. Very inappropriate behavior, but I think it was sensationalized, and that he got a disproportionate amount of criticism. Again, it's factual that like there was people overly sensationalizing what had happened. The Deaf Noodles, he got like a whole lot of trouble for overly validating unconfirmed information.
Canceled for messaging underage boys. I think his side of the story is he thought that they were 18, but he did acknowledge that he was messaging 16-year-old boys. So I'm not
Okay,
sure
so you acknowledged his response. Okay.
exactly how in his brain he's edited history
Well, what do you mean? Like he didn't confirm the age? That makes sense. Yeah.
to make it different than what it was.
Doesn't sound like it.
And then he says it was a really personal and sensitive topic that I had.
Because you guys are calling him a predator. People are calling him a predator, insinuating he's a predator for something that was probably not predatory. Probably wasn't done with any predatory intention. For all the information we have, wouldn't be done with predatory intention. Would be done with very irresponsible intentions. But
Empathy for. Do you feel like James Charles was assisting Evan because he had empathy for him?
I think that he was assisting Evan because he was horny and wanted to see his penis. Because he's, even though he's a gay guy, he's still a man, and gets too into his goon state, I guess you would say.
I feel that James Charles was helping him out because he wanted a relationship
No
with
kidding.
Evan Johnson.
A physical relationship.
Or he wanted a relationship with Evans Johnson. A little bit of fun for you.
Physical relationship.
Yes, he wanted to fuck him. Yes, he wanted his dick in his
As
ass.
soon as I saw Kayla's video, I felt disgusting and awful, and I've stopped responding to him altogether.
Okay.
Now, to me, that's interesting because we've obviously
Why?
had private conversations. We've spoken extensively to Kayla.
Yes.
And the biggest thing that I wanted to understand before I was deciding if I really wanted to do a deep dive and look into this case is there definitive proof that James Charles knew that Evan Johnson was an abuser and then pursued a sexual relationship with him afterward?
Yeah, so what you'd have to show is that, like, after Kayla's video came out, James continued the relationship. If you could show that, we're fucking golden nuggets, baby.
Because that's the most concerning aspect of it all.
Sure, I agree.
And from speaking to Kayla, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there was a situation where James Charles had wanted Evan Johnson and Kayla Malec to do a promotional material for his painted company for Valentine's Day, kind of having them be a couple of some kind, probably for his blush launch or something like that.
Okay.
Looking back, that's obviously a little bit creepy because knowing that the entire time he was interacting with them, he wanted Kayla out of the picture and he's really the one that wanted Evan. That's already a little bit bizarre.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I don't know the timeline. I don't know what the timeline is. I don't know if I just don't know what the timeline is. But I wouldn't call it creepy. It would be cheating. It would be creepy though. So I don't know why everything's creepy. It's creepy to cheat now. It's fucking degenerate, but it's creepy. Is okay. It's an interesting take. I mean, sure.
Yes. So then James had reached out to Kayla and said something along the lines of, "Are we still good to do this Valentine's Day project?" And Kayla said, "Oh, so funny. Actually, we literally just broke up yesterday. Evan did some of the worst things a human being could ever do to someone to me. Abused me, explained the situation."
She said all those things to him?
And then James said
So James came back after she said that and was like, "Can I have him now?"
Can you prove that? I mean, it's still possible that he wouldn't believe her and that, like, he's still more on Evan's side because he's like fucking, a weird simp. But that would be pretty reasonably damning evidence. Can you show us that? Are you able to prove that, like, they had this conversation? Like, or like, can we prove that?
Kayla thought
Can we prove that? Is there a proof of this?
he was completely joking. Like, literally thought her best friend, which is, James at the time, was just joking with her, saying that.
Oh, he actually thought she was joking? Oh, that's nice and charitable of you to give us that information and that interpretation, I guess. Okay. So he didn't take it seriously because he's dumb?
But that's all right.
They're in an active legal case? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, maybe this shouldn't have been made public then if it's an active legal case. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? I can only go off of what I'm seeing, the information that we have.
Right, like a really inappropriate joke.
Yeah, that's...
Even if it is, but little did we know he wasn't joking at all.
No.
Oh, so wait, hold on. Let's be clear. All of them thought it was just a joke? Even James? I don't understand. What you just said makes it seem like all of you thought she was kidding. And none of you believed her. Maybe she said it in a joking way. Maybe that was like a trauma response. I wouldn't doubt it. Okay.
So that's where I'm concerned because also, regardless of that, Kayla had already posted a live and people were discussing Evan Johnson being an abuser. It wasn't as clear. It wasn't as mainstream as it is now. But if the public knew, James knew. Yeah, and obviously...
Well, maybe. I mean, that's speculative. It's possible.
James knew because he's admitting to helping him. What were you helping him with? You were helping him with these accusations. So James knew.
Yes.
Okay. Well, isn't that James's point, though, that he actually believed Evan Johnson? And so he was, like, too charitable to him? He actually thought that it was all, like, sensationalized? Isn't that, like, his entire point, though? Like, I mean, it seems like his story is consistent. We can criticize him for not believing her. I think that's fine, but... his entire story is consistent within itself, just to be clear.
That's a fact. The only question is he either didn't believe Kayla or he didn't care.
Well, seems like he's already addressed it, that he doesn't believe her, right? We kind of have that information, no?
Which one do you think it was?
He didn't care. James didn't care.
I mean, that's possible, but it seems like, if we take his word for it, he just didn't believe her. That's literally what you said that he said. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that he was, like, so desperate for this fucking loser that he's, like, bypassing logic. But then again, you also bypassed that similar logic yourself. So, I mean, you were his literal best friend who somehow missed all the warning signs that he was, like, a piece of dog shit person. So I wouldn't. Okay. I feel like most of these criticisms are criticisms you can make on himself here.
He saw that, Evan was good looking. He thought,
these receipts they are talking about is against Evan. Okay, that's fine. I don't really see. Okay, that's fine. I don't. Why are they talking about it then? It seems irresponsible if there's a fucking lawsuit going on. Then why are they talking about James Charles? It doesn't make any sense to me. They all verified this before it went. I imagine it's because they're hanging. Okay.
He obviously even told Evan, like, you're everything that, like, I look for in a guy.
Okay.
You have abs, you work out, you take care of yourself, you're super tall, and, you're a man.
He said Evan's everything he looks for in a man. Abusive, manipulative, pathological liar.
Okay.
So on, yeah.
20 years old, I guess. That's what James looks for.
20 years old, I guess. It's like an insinuation that he wants to fucking molest kids. That's what he's saying there. Okay.
So the other thing that he
asked, weird. The problem is when they play this age angle, even though this is an adult, it makes it seem like, oh, this is just weird and petty, and you guys are just being obtuse about what's going on and like dishonest. This is all just muddying the waters and distracting for the actual point of the conversation, which is Kayla. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
Added was, he's obviously manipulating and lying to everyone. I should have never spoken to him, but you were in the car with him, so I don't think it's fair you're making a video accusing me of being some monster when he had you convinced too.
This is actually a very good point. How do you contend with that?
I want to let you comment on that, but the reason why that bothers me is that you were friends with Evan and you didn't know Kayla. So that's where this dynamic is interesting, because you have the victim and you have the abuser. You were friends with the abuser, and when you found out, you still sided with the victim, Kayla, and stood by her.
Well, it doesn't seem like he was particularly close friends with her. It seems like he was much closer friends with Evan because he wanted to fuck Evan. But okay.
He was friends with Kayla. He was friends with the victim.
Yes.
And he didn't believe her and then circumvented their entire friendship to go behind her back and pursue a physical relationship with this person who did awful, unspeakable things that we can't even say, or this video would get banned.
It wouldn't get banned. You could say that he abused her, he beat her, he treated her like shit. Absolutely, you could say all those things. It wouldn't get banned at all.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
I feel like James is probably being honest when he says that he was too much on the side of on Evan, and he bypassed logic because he wanted to fuck him, and he's a desperate, pathetic loser. He didn't say any of these things. I'm filling in gaps. He didn't say all these things. And he took him at his word too much, and like that's wrong, but I don't think that he actively interacted with Evan knowing he was an abusive person. I think he probably believed him when he would say his lies. So,
it's sickening to know that he, had went to that point, and I'm also getting a lot of, messages of saying, why didn't you come forward? Or, how do you guys know that, James wasn't manipulated just like I was? Yeah. And like, again, I want to clarify. I started being friends with Evan as hanging out with Evan in January. I have known of him. I did not.
You guys were literal best friends. I don't know why you keep pretending that you guys weren't actual literal best friends. You guys were the literal best friends in like the whole world. Okay, he trusted you enough to keep you around while he was talking to James Charles and relay top secret information according to them. I'm not saying that you're like a bad guy. I'm just saying like stop downplaying that. It's the truth.
Not know Kayla whatsoever. Like when I say whatsoever at all. So I was only hearing one side of the story, which was Evan's side of the story.
And you didn't even know her as a public figure.
No. Yeah. My nieces, I guess, had watched her after I brought it up. But like I never, I'm sure I've probably seen her on my For You page, but I just never really engaged in, into that content, which going back, I wish I had because she makes amazing content.
Okay.
Right. He also added, okay, I'd really appreciate it if you could take down your videos until we have an opportunity to talk. Sorry again, it took me this long to see your messages. He was at Coachella while this was happening. Why do you think he wanted to speak on the phone with you?
He was friends with Kayla for years, though, even before she got Kayla. Oh, that might be true. It doesn't mean that they were super close friends. That might be true. I don't think that necessarily changes anything because they're influencer friends. Like I don't know if it's the most friendly interaction, but sure, that might be true. I don't know. I'm not convinced that James necessarily like knew that this guy was abusive and decided to like side with him performatively. It's possible. It is entirely possible that James Charles knew that he was an abusive person and still sided with him. And then once Kayla came out with evidence, James couldn't hide it any longer. He knew he had to optically, from a career perspective, say, I have to disconnect myself from this person. That is totally possible. It might be true. From what I see, it's more likely to me, knowing James Charles, that he desperately liked this guy to the point where he was bypassing red flags. And he didn't think Evan was an abuser, just like his best friend didn't either. That's in this interview. Until they saw the video, and then after that, they're like, oh man, this is like a lot more serious. Adding in the factor that before the video came out, Evan was telling James that she's a liar and blah, blah, blah. And James, with his past experience of his cancellation being sensationalized disproportionately, because it was him being too charitable to Evan. All these things make sense to me. All these things make sense to me. So, yeah. Okay.
I feel that his goal was he wanted to get me on the phone because obviously it's harder to get receipts. And I was nervous by, like, oh, am I going to take a phone call with James Charles? Like, because I'm here for Kayla. I'm standing up for Kayla this whole time. Why? After me confronting, him and, putting this.
I was behind the stream. They had been saying that she thought that James Charles was joking about him, not that James Charles thought he was joking. Oh, really? Let me rewatch this part.
Said that and was like,
we literally just broke up yesterday, Valentine's Day project. And Kayla said, oh, so funny. Actually, we literally just broke up yesterday. Evan did some of the worst things a human being could ever do to someone to me, abused me, explained the situation. And then James said
So James came back after she said that and was like, can I have him now? Kayla thought he was completely joking. Like, literally thought her best friend, which is, James at the time, was just joking with her, saying that.
But that's already like a really inappropriate joke.
Yeah, that's
even if it is, but little different.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is kind of like the pivotal moment. This is the pivotal text that I would have to see, which apparently is under lock and key due to a potential lawsuit. Would be this text message where apparently they're best friends at the time. Her and James Charles are best friends at the time. And where they are specifically say, she's like, he was horrible to me, abusive to me, terrible. And his response was, oh, so can I have him? If I see that, I mean, that's proof to me that he intentionally was trying to, that he didn't care, that he was just bypassing it, that he apparently didn't trust his own best friend, if they were actually best friends at the time. So I would want to see that. But just to be clear, I need to be absolutely clear. If she was best friends with James Charles at this point, their logic is James Charles is a predator before this whole thing happened. What you're saying is that apparently she didn't care about his predatory intentions. I don't think that he is, so I don't think that about her. But, you guys kind of have to be proportionate in your criticism here. But, okay, sure, but I'd have to see that. I would need to see that information.
The internet, why should he deserve a phone call from me? I never did take the phone call, but I feel that in some type of way he was going to tell me to keep my videos down and offer me a certain amount of money.
Oh,
I have
it's a heavy speculation there.
Known that James is known to do that. Because why I say that,
he's known to do that,
is why would he come back in a message and say, can you take the videos down until we have a chance to talk?
It's possible.
No doubt
it's possible that he wanted to do that. It's possible that he wanted to say that and then dodge you for a little bit to reduce your credibility. A lot of things are possible. Speculation, though, I will say, is a hell of a drug. So
I mind that James would spend a large sum of money to prevent this story from being exposed to the public.
Yeah, I mean, me neither. The problem is the way that this guy's phrasing it. He's opening himself up to a countersuit.
I have known that James is known to do that.
How do you know that? I don't know. I don't know, dude. This is bordering potential. I don't know. I don't really care. It's not my fucking lawsuit. But I think that this entire thing, this entire conversation, does not help Kayla at all. Just to be clear, this entire conversation is a legal nightmare for Kayla, because there are so many things here that James Charles's lawyers are going to potentially frame as defamatory statements, and I could kind of see why, unless you can explicitly prove that he has a pattern of paying people off to suppress information. And so, how is this productive? How is this helpful? Why couldn't this wait until after the lawsuit? these are all legitimate questions that I have that this is not very helpful on at all. This is not helpful for her at all. If she's the primary focus, this entire video is incredibly irresponsible.
Being exposed to the public, that's there.
Yeah.
Because that's how influencers make their money, off their reputations and this idea that you know them when you really don't, and you have these social relationships. And that's why it's so hard sometimes to not go after people, but it's hard to hold people accountable. Because people, and young people specifically, and he has a very young fan base of young girls. That's primarily his demographic, which is why it's so alarming. And I think that people have a right to know the human being behind the camera. I'll just quickly add as well, there was one final message, which I believe.
Do these people like know Kayla at any meaningful capacity? Is this guy like a friend of Kayla's? Who the fuck is this guy? I don't. Is she a friend of hers?
You didn't respond to. And he did say that you were telling the truth here. He said, I originally did tell him he shouldn't respond because he's a fucking dumbass and would never be able to defend himself. He's not just a dumbass. He's an abuser who almost unalived someone. Yeah. Sure, continuously devaluing the situation. Coachella is my busiest time.
What? I stopped responding right after the video. He asked for advice. I originally did tell him he shouldn't respond because he's a fucking dumbass and would never be able to defend himself. Clearly know why we know what. Okay, so it's the context of him saying that is before Kayla came forward. He's like, I originally, when he asked for advice, I originally did tell him that he shouldn't respond because he's a dumbass. Like, that's what, he wasn't downplaying abuse there, but okay.
Or continuously devaluing the situation. Coachella is my busiest time of year, so my DMs are insane. I genuinely didn't see them. I got tagged in your video on TikTok, and that's how I saw them and responded back immediately. I really appreciate you reaching out. I wish I would have seen them sooner. I'm really sorry he treated you like shit. He definitely needs help from professionals. I think James needs help from professionals, and I think Evan needs to be in jail.
That's exactly how it should go.
Well, Evan for sure, from what I've seen, but okay.
Kayla deserves justice. Evan,
this video's not going to give it to her. It's probably going to hurt her in the long run, I would say. Okay.
Needs to be locked up for a very, 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 very long ass time. And James needs a lot of help. And when I say help from professionals, I think that maybe he was meaning himself. No, he wasn't meaning himself, but deep down, he should read that message. And I think he needs to go get help.
So can you tell me about the weekend that James Charles and Evan Johnson spent together?
Yes, absolutely. So I was the only person that knew that Evan was going to LA and that James was flying him out to LA.
Because you guys were best friends.
So it was a very last minute thing. James continued to beg, like, come to LA, like, we can have some fun, we can hang out, hang around the house, like, we can just, chill. But I think it's just best that you can come out here and, get your mind off things, which didn't sit right with me because I was there for Evan every single day through all the hard days and saw some of the most disturbing things for the simple fact that I had to pretty much save him, So very.
Wait, what? I don't even know what that point means.
Almost like, we can just, chill. But I think it's just best that you can come out here and, get your mind off things, which.
Yeah, because he wants to fuck him. That's what he's saying.
Didn't sit right with me because I was there for Evan every single day through all the hard days and saw some of the most disturbing things for the simple fact that I had to pretty much save him,
Why was that? I don't understand why it's strange to you that he would say that, though. Doesn't make it. Are you jealous?
So very last minute, he goes to LA. Flies to LA. I dropped Evan off at the airport.
These guys are like best friends and he's downplaying it.
By any chance, do you have that date written down?
I do. I believe it was February 28th.
February 28th, he flew out.
You have his boarding pass?
Yes, I do.
I did verify everything that you said.
I think this guy is just jealous. He wanted to fuck Evan Johnson.
So we have his boarding pass and folder, and he was flying from Nashville to Burbank.
Yes, correct.
You dropped him off
at BNA Airport.
And picked him up.
Yes, and picked him up. Okay. So during the time of him at LA, he had posted on his story I think it was 1 or 2 snaps. I believe it was 2 snaps.
Evan. Okay. Just to clarify, Evan had posted on his story.
Yes, Evan had posted on his story.
Which we do have here.
Okay.
Okay, so Evan had posted on his story these photos.
Yes, can I see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes. So
Can I see him too?
these photos right here.
Okay.
So this one is him just saying, "What's up, Snap?" I mean,
Okay.
Kayla had already called on but did not have proof. She, during this time, was like, the trees, you know, like, obviously, like, she's been to James's house. Like, it's not hard to notice, like, what's in the backyard.
Okay.
This one is right here. He posted.
Gonna do a little photo dump working on something special. Okay. I'm assuming it's a collab with James.
Also on his story.
He tagged the neighborhood. It's
Yeah.
a small neighborhood in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can see, you know,
Okay.
where it says of like where it's exactly at. But he says gonna do a little photo dump. The reason he had to do a photo dump, and I was well aware of why he had to do a photo dump, was for he couldn't post any more content. Like he had to just post like what was saved in his memories on Snap, just so he can continue to make money on the creator fund of Snapchat.
Okay. So he wants to post a bunch of photos so he can make money. Okay. Gotcha.
So then he goes working on something special. There was nothing special he was working on. If anything that was special that he was working on, I would say, I guess, working on James.
Did you think that was like a really fun, sassy moment? How long did you think about that one for, that response? Okay.
And the only reason of that is during the stay, we were in contact. He actually FaceTimed me. He was Snapchatting me there. But there was a text message that Kayla had messaged James and said, you know, crazy question, around the lines of crazy question, but by any chance is Evan with you? James plays dumb and he goes, Evan, question mark. And she's like, my ex, Evan. And then he comes back and James comes back and goes, why would I be with Evan? Evan was sitting right beside James, as James was literally lying to Kayla, which should have been his best friend.
And number one,
Are they like actually best friends? I'm curious about that. Are they like legitimately best friends here? I don't.
This is already, it makes you a shitty friend. If there was no abuse involved in the situation, for you to go behind your girlfriend's back and then swoop in and steal her boyfriend that's 6 years younger than you, that's already something.
6 years younger. That's crazy.
Something that's very morally questionable, at the very least, if we're being generous. When you add in the abuse allegations and layer that into the psychology of what James was really doing, it's very disturbing.
I'm just genuinely curious. What makes everybody think that they're best friends? Like, why is that? How many was she in a bunch of James Charles videos publicly? Did they collab a lot? What makes them best friend? I'm genuinely curious about that. What makes James and her best friends? They collabed in 2023. They teamed up for Warzone. They were in some videos together. Why does it make them best friends? Because they're in videos together and they collabed in 2023. Is that 2 years ago? Is there a more recent collaboration? Best friends is pretty loaded. I'm just wondering, like, what makes them best friends? Like, other than like we're saying they're best friends, what makes them best friends? Can we like what makes you guys go, hey, these two were legitimately best friends? Because from an outsider, they're influencer friends, and it's pretty much all performative for content. That's how a lot of influencers are, especially ones that like rely on different brands and interactions with other people to survive. It's like all performative. So like, what makes you think that they're best friends? Seriously, like, other than like, hey, I heard it from this video, or what makes you think that they are best friends? Because to me, for what I'm seeing, and I could be wrong, it sounds like this is being very sensationalized. Because if we can pin the fact that they're best friends, if we can say that they are best friends, then that means that James should have listened to everything that she said in private, potentially. So, but like, what are we seeing that they're best friends? Like, what are we seeing? They did a video. Apparently, they did collabs 2 years ago in 2023. They did some videos together. It sounds like influencer friends. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like there's a lot of narrative chasing here. I don't know. Okay. They were roommates. Were they roommates? The roommate comment was a joke. What's the joke? It's an old Vine? What? Bro, there's so many different aspects of the story that are sensationalized. I'm like losing count. What the fuck? Holy shit.
And I also just want to add that something that we do also have in our folder, which is very damning evidence, which we will not be putting on the screen because we aren't going to dox where someone lives, but you have a screenshot that we verified, which is a Find My iPhone screenshot of Evan being at James's house on the exact weekend that you're claiming.
Well, that's not really damning. I believe what you're saying. It's not damning. James wanted to fuck a grown adult. Oh, fuck. Okay. Damning would be if you could prove that they were best friends. That would be damning, no?
So want to explain why you screenshotted that?
So the whole point was screenshotting that was because prior to Evan leaving out and going to LA, he was like, I'm going to James's huge mansion, like huge.
Whoa.
And I was like, is it that big? So once he gets there, it took him a minute, to get to the house. But once he was there, and obviously they did not leave the house whatsoever, I got to looking and I was like, this is not a big mansion. It might be a nice, decent house, but it's not a mansion like Evan was like claiming, because me and Evan would always bet, like just as we would be dumb and just bet money on stupid stuff. So we made a bet that like, you want to bet? Like, I promise you it's a mansion. So I took a screenshot of it to, like, when he came back, he was like, so like it's a nice house, and yes, it's probably a very, very expensive house, and it is, but it's not a mansion.
This just seems like very petty.
Don't get me wrong, it is nice, but it's not a mansion.
Classified as a
Okay.
mansion.
No, absolutely not. So that's why I took the screenshot. But we're here now. Like everything happens for a reason, and I'm so glad that maybe that bet was put in for a reason, because I was able to screenshot that.
Because
Maybe it
people
was
feel like you're not
Maybe it was God's intervention. Yeah.
telling the truth. But that's
Massive. There's no way it was big as the Ninja low taper fade meme.
really impossible to question that.
Oh, absolutely.
And to your knowledge, what happened between them on that weekend together?
So on that weekend, Evan had Snapchatted me, and he was laying in James's bed. And James's bed, as I can go back and think, is pretty much solid white comforter, white sheets, white pillowcases, just very, natural. And it was a very large bed, because Evan snapped. It was like, just woke up. He didn't have a shirt on, and he was literally in James's bed. And he was like, I was literally like, this is the nicest bed I have ever slept in. And I was like, oh, snap. Well, it took him quite a bit of time, to keep, like, snapping me back, which Evan's pretty good at snapping back. Well, so I had booked a photo shoot. And when I say booked a photo shoot, like, it was all on me. He didn't have to pay anything, because he was planning on getting into modeling after he came back from LA. Well, the modeling shoot was supposed to be Monday morning, and we were supposed to leave Monday morning and get to North Carolina, and it would be that following day, and then he had to come back and go to Miami. So it was like crunching time and stuff. And it was hard for me to even get that date, and I got that date. Well, on Sunday, he messaged me and was like, hey, like, I'm going to stay an extra night just because, me and James haven't really got to, spend some, like, time together and, like, actually hang out completely one-on-one the whole time. So James ended up, like, changing my flight and all of that.
So James basically convinced Evan to stay longer.
Yes.
Damn. Okay, so this is adding up now. You guys, you wanted to fuck this guy? Dude, I don't know, man. This whole thing just seems so fucking weird. This is just strange.
Yes, stay till that Monday, and he flew out that Monday.
So was there anything specific that Evan had snapped you in the duration of the weekend you were spending with James?
Yes. So he had snapped me a picture of him and James, and it was late at night, because Evan had already told me that they've had to order food. They couldn't leave. They could not do anything, because apparently Paparazzi would see James and take pictures.
Paparazzi.
And then it could, like, open a whole, like, thing that doesn't need to be opened up.
Scared of the paparazzi,
Gotcha.
or was he scared of Kayla?
Probably Kayla, because, I mean...
I'm talking about this is so weird. Yeah, if the paparazzi got involved, that could be like a whole thing. Oh, what do you think it was a paparazzi, or do you think it was Kayla? Oh, no, you know what? I changed my mind. Oh, okay. I mean, it probably maybe a little bit of both, but I'm not really convinced they're best friends. So
yeah, it was definitely probably scared of Kayla.
Definitely, probably.
Evan
It's
had
incredible.
snapped me, and it was a picture. And when I
Of
say
his wiener?
dressed from all the way, like, top to bottom in all black, even with ski mask
Crazy.
on, they were literally walking, because they haven't been out of the house. They wanted to go for a walk together.
Okay.
So they went for a walk in his
Okay.
neighborhood together, but wearing literally all black. And
What's that? What does that matter? I'm just curious.
I literally, like, snapped him back. I was like, what the actual heck are you guys doing? Like, what? Like, I was
What? All
confused.
black.
He goes, we
Whole black outfit clash. What?
have
Like,
to, because apparently, like, there's people stalking us also.
whoa.
And Kayla and Emma's apparently, like, drove by and been stalking. So, like,
Who?
He goes, we have to, because apparently like there's people stalking us also, and Kayla and Emma's apparently like drove
Oh, is that where they live? I mean, that might be true. If she has a suspicion, I would see her wanting to do that.
by and been stalking. So like,
Wow.
they were obviously hiding. They obviously James obviously knew what he was doing. He knew it was the wrong. Like he knew it was sickening. Like he knew exactly what he was doing, but he was trying to protect himself. But
Well, it is possible that he knew it was wrong, but again, it might be possible that what he thought was wrong was that he was dating this guy that was an influencer, an ex of an influencer friend. Not that like he knew that he was abusive. These are very possible, but okay.
he's a dumbass.
Oh.
I agree, I guess.
And then after they returned from their trip together, did Evan inform you of anything that happened between them?
Yes.
Were you
So
jealous, or?
it took me a lot to get it out, because I was like, Evan, I know the conversations that you guys have had. I've seen pictures. I know you've engaged back. I know the comments that he's said to you, Evan. I was like, what, did anything happen? He's like, no. Like, but it was like a no, like, just yes and no kind of thing. And I was like, just tell me. So later that evening, night, he ended up like wanting to go drink. I didn't really drink that much, and he actually drank and got pretty wasted. So I was like, so what all happened? Like, what'd you guys get to do? Like, what'd y'all do? And he was like, well, all we done was off together.
Okay. Incredible. Wow.
And I was like, okay. And then he goes, money's money. Made the comment, money is money.
Okay.
Well, that's a bizarre comment.
Not really. Maybe he paid him. I don't care.
Yeah, so I was
Hey, pay me to jerk off with you? LOL.
confused with that.
Why? I mean, OnlyFans is fucking legal. I don't really care about, they're two grown adults. Oh, it's prostitution. It's legal. I don't care. It really does not matter to me. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm not really fucking sweating it.
Then shortly after, where he was so drunk, there is, let's just say, something on his phone.
Oh, is it a James Charles penis?
And they did have sex.
Cool.
So Evan had gotten drunk and then showed you on Snapchat or on his phone. There is like a quick clip.
Yes, it was a very quick clip, and it was actually on Snapchat in his memories, but it was saved as camera roll for some odd reason.
And you believe this video depicted...
Do you think that this is like a good look? Do you think this is like helpful for Kayla? Where you're basically talking about how this guy, Evan Johnson, shared private photos of James Charles nude? Do you think that's helpful? You think that's like making her look real good? And it doesn't like make her look bad, but do you think that it makes the situation look good against James Charles? I don't understand.
James Charles and Evan Johnson.
Like, what is the like you're being very explicit in like all the detail about how they would exchange sexual images and how is this productive? What is happening here? This just seems like, okay, this is such a petty piece of, this is so unhelpful for her, I think.
Sex.
Oh yes, 100%. You can hear 100%. It was
What
obviously.
did you hear in the video?
So in the video, you could hear James calling Evan daddy.
Whoa.
And moaning.
Crazy.
Very, very disturbing. I still, like, me thinking right now, I can picture it still.
Well, maybe that's because it's really not for you to be consuming. It's private information. So
It's something I was like, oh, I was not expecting that. But when Evan comment back, money's money. So
okay.
Allegedly, I mean, I'm sure there was lots of money involved.
So you do believe that James had paid Evan
I do.
some way? For me, it's interesting because whether or not you pay someone directly, like a Venmo or a bag of cash, you're still paying for his flights, paying for his food, possibly buying him things. He was obviously going to pay Evan and Kayla in the sponsorship that they were going to do for his business. So there's sort of vague ways to do that. But at the end of the day, you're still exchanging sex for money, especially when you're...
Yeah, you know, when I take my wife out to dinner and she blows me after, that's also could be the same thing. I don't really understand what... Like, it's so strange that in this video... It's the narrative is that like somehow, despite the fact that Evan is an actual abusive person based on everything we've seen, the narrative has shifted towards James Charles like being like implicitly being worse somehow. It's actually so weird. Like they're sensationalizing things. They're making like Evan look like a victim in some ways, just to spite James Charles. You realize this, right? Like when you sit here and you're like, oh man, he was paying for him. And you're making it seem like they mentioned before, like, oh, I think that he had to do these things for James or else like, because this is the only way he could maintain his career, or, you know, they're 20 and you know, they're 20 and 26. Like that's you know, that's a fucking blah blah blah, and implying the power dynamic and all these different narratives. You're making it seem like Evan is just a stinky little baby with no fucking agency or autonomy over himself. The guy who has actually hit her is somehow like a victim. Like, you did a good job of like really just fucking this whole thing up for her. You know, like, I don't know if story-wise it's going to like do any damage to her credibility. I don't think it will at all. But like, imagine her hearing this. This is insane.
You're coercing someone who I believe to be straight.
Coercing.
As far as I know,
Coercion. They're using the idea of coercion now. They're saying that he coerced him. The abusive guy, the guy who like abused Kayla, is right now the victim in their mind because he got coerced into sex for intentionally engaging with this. These people are like gross, dude. Holy fuck. Does Kayla know these people? If they're friends, I mean, this hopefully she fucking smartens up. These people are fucking disgusting.
know his sexuality. Evan was straight.
Right. And it's hard to speculate because obviously it exists on a spectrum, but for the most part, he operated and identified as a straight man, which is actually James Charles's type.
All right.
Which introduces some issues of consent because...
Not really. How does it introduce issues with consent? Explain that to me, bud.
You're approaching people and trying to coerce them to be in a relationship with you.
You know what the word coercion means? It means under a threat. You're telling me that he was threatening him. He's like, you better show me your fucking cock or I will harm you in some capacity. That is what coercion is. Coercion isn't like, hey, you're like, hey, I'm gonna fuck this gay guy because I want my career to be maintained. Okay, if he decides that he wants to lead on some fucking gay guy to keep his career going because he's abusive and fucking ruin every other option, like, why are we labeling James Charles as like, oh, this is weird, this is like a fucking pathetic, this whole thing is so fucking pathetic. Jesus Christ.
You. And like Tatu said in her By Sister video, crack their sexuality like an escape room. That's not the way that you should engage with people.
No.
And I also just want to add, in our research, we have some reports that weekend that they had spent together, James Charles had posted on his Instagram story that he was cooking pasta or something, and maybe it's something
pasta that makes that rape pasta. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this. It was rape pasta apparently. Okay.
And sees this video, they have a screenshot they can share with us.
Yes.
Not all baking cookies, which is interesting because he's known to not really cook. To me, it's just...
Wow, that's insane. He's known to not cook. Well, you got him on that. What is happening? What are you guys doing? The energy that they have is pathetic.
Icing on the cake because...
Why? What?
There's something so predatory about that. It's almost reminding me of...
About cooking when you don't typically cook? What? What the fuck is happening?
A fairy tale and someone, like a witch in a forest, is like cooking up cookies to lure the kids in to her house. Like, it's just... wanted to add that.
There is absolutely no way. There is no way that you just said that. There is no way that he just said that. There's no way that this guy just said that James Charles is a predator because he cooked pasta when he doesn't typically cook and then compared it to a fairy tale, storybook fairy tale. There's no way that you did that without laughing. At this point, I'm convinced that you guys are clowns. You're joking. This whole thing is a joke. I can't consistently through this entire video, there's been just constant sensationalization of the narrative. James Charles might be a huge, terrible fucking person in this scenario, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's never going to be revealed from these two. This is insane. These two are not doing any justice to Kayla and her struggle at all. They are just turning it into a fucking clown festival. These two should be ashamed of themselves. They should be embarrassed with themselves. This is pathetic. This is unironically pathetic. This is a joke. This is fucking insane. I can't believe I just heard that. I'm fucking flabbergasted. Okay, cool. We did it, guys. We saved Kayla. We saved her. We saved Kayla. We saved her. We saved her with this video. We saved her with this fucking thing.
Yes.
Wow.
So I also just...
Did you say yes to that? I'd be like, are you fucking stupid? What?
I want to draw attention to a snap that you took a photo of
Why?
in which Evan messaged several people, including you, alleging that Kayla was lying, that
Okay.
he's actually the victim, and bragged that James Charles was on his side, giving him guidance on how to navigate the situation. And what prompted that entire conversation was Kayla going live and alluding to the abuse. Is that correct?
That is very correct.
I just want to include that as just
Okay.
further evidence.
Yes.
Evidence of what? That you all fell for it? Okay.
Really quickly as well, you had also said that you believe that James had invited Evan to Coachella.
Yes.
Cool.
So I
They
was
say Bernie Sanders there? Kind of based.
aware that
Fuck.
I was witnessed the conversation of James saying that he's going to the first weekend of Coachella and that he buys his team or something, so many people, I don't know if it's his whole team or what, an artist wristband for Coachella.
Cool.
Well, he had bought Evan one. Obviously, Evan hadn't received it in the mail. I don't know if he was going to fly him there and give it to him, but the plan was for Evan to go to Coachella and he was going to have an artist band.
Cool.
But the only thing is
Oh, he's not an artist?
Evan was a little nervous because he was more likely Kayla's gonna be there, and
Okay.
it was going back and forth, and then James is they're trying to figure out how to work it out. But what stopped that is Kayla come forward to the world with her YouTube videos of 1 and 2, so obviously James was not gonna take him to Coachella then.
True. Why do you think that
would be
is?
insane.
Why do you think that is, though? Do you think it's because he, I want to hear, why do you think that is? Do you think it's because, he's a bad guy? He's a bad guy? Or do you think that maybe he just, do you think it was because he actually felt like he couldn't support the narrative anymore, even though he knew the whole time that Kayla was abused, but there wasn't enough evidence out there, so he didn't want to believe it? Or do you just believe that it's oh shit, he actually was right, he actually is abusive, I should probably disconnect myself? What do you think it is?
So it wasn't enough for James to just have been told privately from someone who was his friend for years that...
Oh, friend now, okay. So it was best friend before? Didn't they not say that they were best friend? Am I fucking mentally delusional? Didn't they say that they were best friends before and now they're just friends?
This person did horrible things to me. It was when it became public that it became an inconvenience to him and he was willing to separate himself from Evan when it was...
Okay. Well, you guys accidentally forgot to keep up the whole narrative, the sensationalized narrative on that one. Or maybe they didn't say that. Maybe you guys in the chat said that. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
A risk to his reputation.
Yes, it literally had to be public for James to, oh no, we can't
They did say best friends? Okay.
do this and that. James is sick. He is a sick guy. He needs very much help.
Great.
And this is something that the whole world needs to see.
In terms
You really believe that? Okay.
of your journey of discovering that Evan Johnson was an abuser, there was also something that happened specifically within your family, if you wanted to speak about that.
Yes. So it took the
What did Evan make them pasta? What what happened?
time for Kayla to come forward of her videos.
Okay.
And I have a cousin that is locally from, an area. And I don't want to, name the name just because it's considered as private just right now until Kayla gets the chance to talk to her. But Evan had a apartment with a roommate in Hendersonville, Tennessee, when he caught his previous charges at the beginning. My cousin was hanging out with him. They were never dating. They were more as just, friends, but kind of in a talking stage. Well, she finally come forward to me and reached out. And I had my aunt texting me saying you need to stop hanging out with Evan. This is a big thing. Stop. She reached out to me and finally let me know that Evan, was an alcoholic and he did drink a lot. But one of the nights she got really drunk and she was she wanted to go home.
Okay.
And he was like, "You're not going home." She goes, "I have a friend that can come pick me up." He goes, "No, you plan to come over here to hang out with me and to plan to drink, but you are staying now. Not should, but you are staying now." So he made her go to his room and lay down. So Evan comes in there shortly after and starts touching her. And, and he was drunk. And she just kept telling him, stop touching me. I don't want to be touched. Like, I just want to leave. Like, and she said she couldn't fall asleep. Well, shortly after that, she's not going to claim the R word because obviously she was drunk and under the influence, like she told me.
Why wouldn't she claim that she was raped then? If what?
But he did
take advantage
of her.
I'm so confused. That doesn't make any sense to me. If she was raped, and that's terrible. But like, why wouldn't she claim that if she was?
To have sex with her. And that's been really hard to like know. And just knowing I was
I don't even know what you're talking about. The story is so inconsistent.
him. Stop touching me. I don't want to know.
So the story started as like, hey, they were drunk together. He wouldn't let her go home. She went and laid down, and then he came and started touching her non-consensually. That would be like rape. But then he's like, oh, she wouldn't say it was rape. So that leads me to believe that like, and then goes on to say that like, oh, he took advantage of her when she was drunk, which insinuates to me that it was actually consensual. But the contentious part is that she's drunk, and you can't necessarily consent when you're drunk. But it's like if they're both drunk to the same degree, then you can consent, right? Like kind of negative, it zeroes itself out. So I don't know. I don't even. This story is just words to me. This doesn't even mean anything to me. Okay.
Shortly after that, she's not going to claim the R word.
Okay.
Because obviously she was drunk and under the influence, like she told me.
That would. Okay. What?
But he did take advantage of her.
So then it would be sexual assault. I'm just confused.
To have sex with her. And that's been really hard.
Okay. Maybe she's okay. I don't know what to do with this story. I don't, it's hard to tell how much of it is real. If that really happened to her, that's terrible. I'm sorry that happened to her. I wouldn't doubt it. Evan's a piece of shit. I don't know what that has to do with James Charles. This is about James Charles, but okay.
But like, no. And just to know.
Like that would, I'm confused.
Like,
is he sensationalizing something, or was it actual sexually assault? Like,
I was hanging out with Evan this whole time, and this happened also like
what?
to my sex with her. And that's been really hard to like know. And just knowing I was hanging out with Evan this whole time, and this happened also like
terrible
to my family, like my cousin I'm really close to.
And it's possible he has even more victims than just your cousin and Kayla. So
sure. Probably.
I think the last question.
I don't know. This is just making it weird. The way that they're talking about this is making me uncomfortable, but okay.
That I kind of wanted to ask you is looking back on your journey from going from friends with Evan Johnson to
best
then
friends.
standing by
They were best friends. Just to be clear, they were legitimately best friends based on the way that he was talking about it. They were best friends.
Kayla's side. What have you learned?
I've definitely learned a lot more about manipulation. I have never really experienced manipulation, so like I was not aware of like, oh, like I'm being manipulated, he's lying to me kind of thing. And based off, what I experienced and went through with Evan, and then also seeing what Kayla went through, with Evan and also other people, like the manipulation is real. And now I'm like understanding how you can like pick up a little quicker, definitely. And a big thing I do want to speak on is the reason that I did come forward and go against Evan is because
for attention, very clearly to me. I don't know. It doesn't seem like you care that much.
There is not many men in this world that will sit here and take up for the victim.
Okay. I don't know. Just the way that they're talking about this, it's you're giving yourself accolades for doing the bare minimum. I don't know. This whole thing makes me so uncomfortable. Okay.
Men don't speak up. And I think that's something
true,
that
King.
we need more in the world.
So true. You're actually like a pioneer. You're such a great guy.
And this is why I'm here today, because
he's actually a righteous guy.
I feel that this is something really big, just not on one aspect. Obviously, this goes, like you said, it goes deep. There's several different things to this story, and more men need to like be comfortable enough, to speak up. So that's why I'm here today, to know that just because like I was friends with Evan, if he done something wrong, and since he did these terrible things, absolutely, I'm going to speak against him.
Great. You're a very brave guy.
Zach, thank you for speaking with me.
Thanks, absolutely, Zach. And thank you for having me. Of course.
Thanks, Zach. Really appreciate that, bud. Such a good guy.
Hi, Kayla.
Hey, Kayla.
We just finished with our interview, and
oh my gosh,
We just wanted to let you know that we love you and we support you and we're here for you if you need anything.
Thank you. I love you guys so much. And
Well, I guess she knows about it.
I'm like really excited to see you guys.
Yes, I love you, Kayla.
I love you guys.
Have a good day.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you too guys. Love you
I
all.
love you.
Love you
Bye.
too. Okay, bye.
This feels like reality TV right now. What the fuck is happening? Okay. Incredible. I don't know what else to say. That was incredible. It almost felt like in that moment they convinced her that him coming forward with his incredibly irresponsible whatever this was actually him being a good guy. But they really just weaponized her situation to talk about it in one of the most irresponsible ways I've ever seen in my entire life. So, all right, let's do this. Let's watch this James Charles response. I guess I'm curious. We watched the interview, which was really weird, to be absolutely honest with you. It was just fucking cringe. I don't know. Let's just see what James Charles has to say. Let's go.
I do not support Evan Johnson in any way, shape, or form. Let me make that fucking clear.
Whoa.
I don't support him. I don't support violence against women, and I sure as hell do not support the disgusting, deplorable, violent, heinous acts that he committed against Kayla Malec behind closed doors. I really fucking hope and pray that when this
this is a normal take.
goes to court this week, Kayla gets justice for what that man put her through. At the same time, the videos that I'm currently seeing all over my For You page are disturbing to me. This is not TikTok tea and drama for everyone else's entertainment. This is real people dealing with some really serious shit. The conversation has completely shifted focus away from Kayla Malec and how she was brave enough to speak out about what she went through to how James Charles involved, the downfall, Bye Sister 2.0, where's the apology video? It's distracting.
That's true. Absolutely, I agree. Especially things since it's something to keep in mind, And I don't think that James Charles. I said this in the interview we watched. James Charles is not a predator. I really don't think so. I think he's somebody that's a fucking idiot. He didn't verify ages of a couple people like years ago. I'm not a particular fan. One was like a 4-year age gap. One was like I think a 4 or a 5-year age gap. I think one was like 14 and 18, and one was like 16 and 20 or 21. Not good. But it doesn't seem like it's predator energy. It seems like pathetic loser energy. But like, listen, all those allegations came out after him and Kayla worked together. So like, if you're gonna have this like, oh, he's a predator narrative, then you're gonna have to apply that to her. I wouldn't. You would have to if that's your logic here. Obviously, she's not like a fucking predator supporter. That would be fucking ridiculous.
From the actual issue at hand, which is domestic violence. I have not spoken out about this for a couple of different reasons. The main one being, this is going to court this week. Anything I or anybody else says online can and probably will be used by either Evan's defense attorney or the judge to affect the outcome of its ruling. And I didn't want to put Kayla at any risk for that. I hate that I'm getting online and filming this video right now, but I truthfully have no other choice because I've also spent the last several weeks trying to get in contact with the only person involved in this that actually matters and needs to hear the truth, and that's Kayla Malec. And she has been unwilling to have a conversation with me. And frankly, I don't fucking blame her. After I watched the laughable interview between Be Better and Zack Sellers, I wouldn't want to have a conversation with me either if I was being fed complete bullshit lies and misinformation from the person whose only source of information is the same man that lied to and abused me for 9 months straight. At this point,
Interesting. So he's saying he got manipulated by that guy too? Okay, I guess that's true.
I have no choice other than to get online, tell my story, and then prove my story to be true in a court of law. I am suing Zack Sellers and anybody else that thinks it's funny or entertaining to get online and spread defamatory and slanderous lies, misinformation, completely bullshit, made-up stories for the sake of views, likes, engagement, and galaxies. I'm done. This all started at the beginning.
I mean, that is fair. If you go to that Zack Sellers guy's TikTok account, it's just like the entire thing. I think from this.
Hey guys, I just wanted to hop. Hey guys, I'm back with part 3.
All of this is just about Kayla. This is the entire thing is just Kayla. Like, he's obviously milking this entire situation for attention.
James.
And also, look at him. Come on. Give me a break.
In 2025, when I reached out to Kayla about her and Evan being in a Valentine's Day video together, she told me she couldn't. She was crashing out.
Do you want to be, sorry. Let's see. Do you want to be in a painted video with your man? I'm not even joking. This made me piss. I broke up with him fucking last night. I saw their story and was crashing out. LMAO. Tune in for to the 30 part. Who the fuck did I marry series? What? He's fucking crazy.
Because they had just broken up because he was crazy. I tried to lighten the mood a little bit and make a lighthearted.
What happened? Can I have him now? LMFAO. I'm so sorry, Kayla. You deserve better. Imagine like the worst thing a human can do to you. It would take hours to text it, but you'll see the series soon. Because what the fuck, LMAO? But thank you so much. Congrats on all the painted love. Oh my god, you're actually doing a series on it? I'm so sorry.
A joke asking, could I have him now? And then asked what actually happened between them. All she told me was that he did awful things to her and that I would find out more in her 30-part TikTok series. She said she was upset that she helped build his platform.
30 part? Oh, I think that she's making a joke about it being a 30 part, but.
Based off of lies and
I'm so sorry. Oh, just wait, because I gave this man a platform based on his lies and abuse, but I'm gonna wait to heal from it and then clock out. Oh shit, I'm sorry, Kayla. You're so good. Thank you, sister. Okay.
And whenever she was healed, she was going to get online and expose him. I'm going to be so honest. I did not take this conversation very seriously. And obviously, now knowing what we all do, I fucking should have. Reading it back now, it is super clear that she was using humor to cope, and that is perfectly fine and valid.
Okay, so James is admitting that he was basically flirting with this guy and probably sexting with this guy after she said this, which would be shitty, but you know what? I can appreciate the honesty.
But at the time, I genuinely interpreted these messages as a messy breakup. Maybe he cheated, maybe they got into a drunken argument that ended badly. I could have never imagined what she was actually going through behind the scenes. A lot of Kayla's own friends and family have said they had no idea what she was going through. I wish I could go back in time and been there for her, tried to help her. I wish that I would have asked more questions, but frankly, I didn't feel comfortable doing so. First and foremost, she obviously wasn't ready to talk about it yet based on her last message. And secondly, me and Kayla Malec just weren't close friends. I don't say that to take away from her feelings about this. I don't say that to undermine what she went through.
Yeah, but they said that she was like best friends with him in the fucking podcast, which is ridiculous.
We've only met a couple of times. We collabed in 2023. She guest starred on a podcast with me in 2024, and we hung out at our mutual friend's Halloween party back in October. We've never hung out one-on-one. We've never had a deep conversation. I just really didn't know her that well to be able to interpret these messages and have a better idea of what was actually happening behind closed doors. And I wish more than anything I did, because I should have never gotten involved with this, but I did not know what she was going through. I really fucking hate to admit it, but I did have a brief friendship with Evan Johnson that started and ended well before I ever learned about any of the violence that was going on behind the scenes. He reached out to me a couple of days later asking me for advice and told me the same exact story that Zack Sellers believed and then repeated on the Be Better podcast, which was that the relationship was toxic, they both said things and did things that they shouldn't have, and a bunch of other stories that genuinely made me believe Evan Johnson was the victim in the situation.
Oh, wait a minute. Holy fuck. Wait a minute. I just realized this. I saw the entire podcast. I just realized this. All the information that this Zack Sellers guy was getting about James Charles was filtered through Evan Johnson, the manipulative, lying abuser. Oh my God. What? It just clicked now. Wow. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And for you to have realized that, which that other weird looking dude realized, Zack Sellers realized, to me shows a level of disgusting, disingenuous nature. Also, August, that's a good part to add to the intro. Also, cut this out.
He told me that he moved back to Nashville to go to church and get therapy and try to become a better man, and he seemed vulnerable. He seemed real, and he seemed scared that Kayla was going to get online and start telling lies about him, and he knew exactly what to say to relate it back to a situation that I was in that made me have sympathy for him and be on his side. I feel so fucking dumb for ever believing him, but when I was in a similar situation, all I cared about was anybody treating me like a human being and hearing me out and being there for him, so that's what I tried to provide. We became closer, we would start FaceTiming.
And they showed each other their wieners, sure.
Very suicidal and depressed, and eventually he told me that he wanted to come out to LA to escape and get his mind off of things for a weekend, so I invited him out. All we did was sit on the couch, order food, watch movies, but over the course of the weekend, I slowly started to notice that some of his stories were not exactly lining up. There were inconsistencies, and I started to get worried that I might be on the wrong side of things, and that was confirmed as soon as Kayla noticed that he was at my house and I had to lie to her. I didn't know what to do. I realized then that I was in the middle of a very fucking messy situation that I should have never gotten involved with in the first place, but this man was staying with me, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Later on that night, I told Evan straight up I was uncomfortable, I was upset that I had to lie to her, and that we could not hang out any further. He respected that, and the next morning, he flew home. As soon as Evan left LA, I immediately started making myself unavailable to him because I recognized that he was not the man he was telling me he was. But it wasn't until a month later, when Kayla uploaded her video, He Doesn't Love You, that I actually got to sit and watch how much of a monster he is. My jaw was on the floor for all 2 hours of that video. I could not believe what I was watching and seeing. The horrendous verbal abuse, the violent physical abuse. I was shocked. I was ashamed.
Yeah, it was pretty fucked up, man.
For not taking me and Kayla's conversation more seriously. I was embarrassed for ever believing that man's lies and manipulation, and I was angry with myself that I ever allowed that man into my home. It was horrifying, and I'm so proud of Kayla for being able to speak up. A couple of days later, I started getting messages on Instagram from Zack Sellers, Evan's best friend, basically warning me that Evan had lied to both of us and telling me that I should cut him off. I didn't see these messages at first until he made a public TikTok accusing me of still supporting Evan behind the scenes, and I messaged him right away because I was confused. His messages genuinely seemed nice. He seemed like he was checking in, warning me to make sure that I was okay and have cut Evan off because he knew that we were both told the same exact lies and stories from Evan. The only reason he even knew I was involved at all was because he was physically with Evan as his best friend, supporting him every single day.
Yeah, he was definitely best friends with that guy. I remember definitely getting that narrative. Like, that was definitely true.
It took me 3 days with Evan to realize that something wasn't right here. It took Zack 3 months. So to act this way privately and then to get online as if I'm some monster was wild to me. What started off as a video of James Charles supporting Evan Johnson behind the scenes snowballed into more videos, more content, and then live streams. Every single night, Zack has been live asking for galaxies in exchange for showing more receipts. He's been asking his followers for their cities and locations so he can go on tour with Kayla after this is all over with. He's even been asking for donations on PayPal to fund a merch line. This has nothing to do with getting justice for Kayla and everything about making an opportunity for himself. And the perfect one came along when Be Better flew him out to Canada for their podcast interview. Aside from the timeline that I just told you guys, everything else in that hour-long episode is complete bullshit. To start rumors about somebody online is one thing. Unfortunately, I know that comes with the job, but to publicly accuse them of prostitution is ridiculous. There is no proof, no evidence of any of the ridiculous claims that Zack is making because they did not happen, which is why I have no choice other than to take legal action. But before I do that, I want to quickly take a second and clear the air on some things that have really set me over the edge. First and foremost, Evan Johnson and I did not, in any way, shape, or form, have a physically sexual relationship. We did.
Even if they did, who cares? They're two fucking adults.
Not have sex while he was here, and I did not, under any circumstances, pay Evan Johnson for sexual favors. Not in person, and certainly not online through a secret OF account where I'm apparently funding his entire life. That is absurd. Not that it's anybody's business, but I do have an OF account. I'm a grown adult. I barely use it, but Zach, if you would like to see, I will gladly send you a screenshot of my transaction history. I have nothing to hide, and I have not sent Evan Johnson $1 single. Zach claims to know all this information to be true because he pressured Evan into getting drunk and telling him what happened on the trip. I don't know if Evan lied to him to make the trip seem more fun and exciting, or if Zachy literally just made this up for funsies. I would like to believe that that isn't the case and that he was manipulated in this situation as well. But he claims to have seen a video on Evan's phone of him having sex with me. Zach, post it. If you have the receipt, if you have the video evidence, you can upload it. You have my full consent and permission. I have
wow. Wait, that's actually a baller move.
far worse posted to me online that I didn't consent to. Go right ahead. But you can't because there is no video of something that did not happen.
Well, I mean, that's certainly convincing to me.
Be Better doesn't even stand by these claims because he's now added a disclaimer to their interview that says he was not able to verify a single thing that Zach said.
Wow, that's fucking crazy.
He's now added something that did claims because he's now added a disclaimer.
The views and allegations expressed in this interview are solely those of the interviewee. This content is presented in the public interest for the purpose of discussing awareness. No statements have been verified, and I do not assert any claims as fact. I am acting solely as an interviewer and publisher, not the source of the allegations. Dude, this guy pushed everything as if it was a fact.
To their interview that says he was not able to verify a single thing that Zach said. Second, there's a rumor going around that I paid Evan Johnson's bail. This is not true. It is a public record that it was Evan's family who got him out. Kayla's own sister has confirmed this.
JC did not bail out EJ. I know who did, and I cannot say anything.
Third, there's a new narrative started by Be Better that I am trying to silence anybody that talks about this issue. First and foremost, this is literally the biggest thing on TikTok right now. I don't understand how anybody could possibly assume that I'm trying to silence people, but Be Better made a video basically saying that I'm working with YouTube behind the scenes to manipulate their algorithm and get their video hidden. I truthfully wish this was possible. I've been making content for 8 long years now. There are videos on YouTube with 5, 10, 20 million views that if I could have gotten them removed, I would have. But Be Better, I know you said you're having your lawyers reach out to YouTube, so YouTube, I give you my full permission to release any communications between myself or my team to you guys about this matter because, again, they don't exist. Zach has also now made a video claiming that my lawyers have reached out to him to threaten him, to silence him, and to offer him hush money. This is not true. Zach, my lawyers cannot contact you directly, so instead, they emailed your modeling agency because that is the only contact you have listed. There was no threat, there was no offer, they were simply asking for the contact of your lawyers. I told you I was going to sue you, and this is what the beginning of that process looks like. It really sucks that at this point I am left with no options other than to pursue a case. As for Kayla, I am so fucking sorry that I ever got involved in this. I should have never believed his lies and manipulation. I should have never even responded back to him in the first place, and I'm sorry for hurting you. I genuinely do wish you the absolute best of luck, and I really hope that you get justice for what that man put you through.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, okay. All right, let me check this out too. Might as well throw it in. This is his response to James Charles.
Hey James, so I'm on here because I'm responding to your video because you're gonna sue me and I can't wait to receive those papers and take this to court because everything I have spoken about is the absolute truth. Kind of crazy that you've been
so they just released James Charles Wiener. He told you could do it.
blowing the hell out of Kayla's phone up and she's not responding to you because she knows what you are and she knows the character that you are and she knows it's the absolute truth. And then you want to bring up Kayla's messages, my messages, but where are your and Evan's messages off Instagram? Oh wait, it was vanish mode. But just because it was
I don't care. I don't care.
vanish mode does not mean that we can't get a hold of those messages because when this goes to court, we will be able to get all of your Instagram messages. And I'm scared for whenever they get over to your Instagram and see all of your Instagram messages and all of your vanish mode because you don't want no one to take screenshots because who you think you are and who you are. But I'm scared that there's going to be all these little kids that are going to have to come forward because of all your past allegations.
Well, okay. Great. I mean, you know this is going to make you look really bad, right? This is actually going to destroy you in court. This guy's a fucking idiot.
They're going to also look at characters. They're going to look at my character from the past, and they're going to look at your character from the past. And your character from the past is absolutely sick. You literally have videos of you admitting everything, which is absolutely sick. You are.
He has videos of admitting that like he was irresponsible with checking ages like 2 times. Okay. All right. If you say so.
sick.
If this goes to court, there's going to be like a lot of videos specifically of Deaf Noodles coming out, like where they're going to reference him sensationalizing the narrative and showing that like there was he was handled irresponsibly and he got significant backlash for it. I mean, if we're really going to get this deep into it.
Human being. I cannot wait to take this to court. You will be canceled, and you do not deserve a platform. At no means whatsoever. Also, you want to bring up, yeah, I've been going live? Absolutely, I've been going live. And you know what? Just because you said that, I will be dropping Bye Sister merch, because there's no more sister. You're going to fall off of this platform.
I'm going to drop merch. Oh, yeah, I am dropping merch, and I am milking the situation, so I'm going to milk it some more. Yeah, great defense. Incredible.
I don't care how much energy this takes and how many people have to keep doing this, but I will not give up. You're fucking with the wrong one now, buddy, because I won't
Dude looks like a fucking scarecrow.
give up. You think I'm nice until you try to lie and try to cover up all of the allegations that you done because you're sick and you know that you're going to be canceled. I'm not going to let that happen by no means. So also you wanted to bring up that you reached out to my modeling agency, your legal team did, and because that was the right way to do it. So be it. Okay, if that was the right way to do it, then let that be. But my legal team has already been in touch with yours. We're waiting on the papers because we will be subpoenaing your phone, no matter if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 phones, whatever. Because I do know there has been kids that have reached out to me and have shown me evidence where you have said don't take screenshots, and also the Instagram messages have been on vanish mode. So this is not just, you know,
There are kids who reached out to you. At this point, I'm pretty sure this dude's just fucking lying. But okay.
you taking upper, you know, DV and being against Kayla. This is a lot more to it. So I cannot wait to bring this to court. So
This is literally Evan Johnson's best friend having this performative meltdown.
in the meantime, bye, sister.
Okay, that was a video.